Anna Maria, Anna Maria, Anna Maria, Anna Maria, Anna Maria, Anna Maria.
My name is Anna Marie. I hate this.
Anna Maria.
Now, you might have guessed with me covering the first 3 Broken Sword games already that I could be classified as a bit of a fan of the series by this point. As I have now said plenty of times, at least 3 to be precise, I grew up playing Broken Sword 1 and 2 religiously among some of my other all-time favourite games. I now also have a pretty big soft spot for the Sleeping Dragon, so it is now time we talk about how I feel about the Angel of Death, the 4th installment in the series that sees the return of George once again in 3D. In 2006, Revolution Software teamed up with Sumo Digital, the first time they had teamed up to create a Broken Sword game, and with their combined power they gave us the Angel of Death, a whole new adventure and the first one only released for PC. It tried to fix the problems of the Sleeping Dragon, bringing the old school point-and-click mechanics back, whilst mixing them in with the newer 3D world they had created for the series. Now, I won't beat around the bush though. My name is Annakuma, and I'm here to tell you at length, and probably repeating myself constantly, about why I feel the downfall of Broken Sword as a series started and ended with Broken Sword 4, The Angel of Death. The Sleeping Dragon was criticised for its block-pushing puzzles, not just by me, but by the critics of the time. The game tried so hard, but it never got the balance of pushing blocks around the screen, and just about any other kind of puzzle you could add to a game. To add a kind of balance to this game, the block pushing was reduced massively, and changed to the point you won't even think you're doing any in the game, was bringing back an actual cursor to look around the screen with. With the game now being solely on PC, it went back to its roots, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, because the reaction-based button pressing of 3 was both a great part of it, but could have been made better if they tried again. It definitely suited the 3D world a little better than this point-and-click action in The Angel of Death does. As far as voice acting goes, Ralph Saxon did return as George, because there would be no George without him, and a lot of the same old faces we were used to just didn't show up this time. George also gets a new companion in Anna Maria, who was voiced by Regina Reagan, changing up the main cast for the first time in the game's history. Will these changes work? Will they not work? Will the story be more or less mythical than the third one? A little bit less supernatural? We'll find out, I'm sure. So during the last retrospective, I said that no more supernatural stuff really happens, and then we start this game off with this. Okay, so it does go back to a normal amount of supernatural stuff. Who this is, we don't know, but we then see George walking into his new office to be told that he has a visitor waiting, whilst there's some goons outside waiting for him.
Guy rides a desk.
Everyone in position.
Uh-huh.
Don't screw this up, Tony.
Hey, trust me, boss.
Hey, you know I do. Okay, boy.
It's playtime.
It's a decent opening. It follows the same basic mold that the last 2 games did, giving you a little of what the bad guy is doing, whilst also then showing you how George is going to get tangled up in it. Again, nothing beats the first game's intro, but it's a decent enough one and looks pretty good as well. George is now a Bell's bondman. Why he is, we are never told, and I guess we never had to be told, but to go from being a patent lawyer, traveling to the Congo, to a Bell's bond guy in an office like this, I have to think something went wrong for our boy in between the games. His visitor is called Anna Maria, and she wants our help.
They're after me. They want to kill me. Or if they find me here, they'll probably want to kill you, too. I have a manuscript, you see, and...
Whoa, 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 whoa. Look, miss.
Anna Maria.
Anna Maria, this is a bail bond agency. I'm a lawyer, and you need the police.
But there isn't time.
Lady, in my experience, there is always time.
George doesn't really want anything to do with it and tells her to call the cops, but they are interrupted by the thugs we saw outside, and thus starts the tutorial area as far as tutorial areas go in this game. Gameplay-wise, it plays both like the third game and like the first and second game. You can click around the screen to get George to move, like a classic point and click, or you can just use the WASD keys to have him move around. Holding shifts make him do a little run, and the cursor is back, so hovering over items will give you an option. Sadly, in this game, they pick one option, and it very often isn't the option you'll need or want. In fact, to see all options you can do with any kind of object, you'll need to right-click it. The only problem I have is that the cursor is very small. I don't know if that's just the Steam port or not, but it's really, really small. Hotspots are also kinda bad, but we'll get to that as we go along. It both isn't and is an upgrade from the Sleeping Dragon at this point. Upgrade because at least being able to wave your mouse over the screen is going to be helpful. Downgrade because there is no actual hotspot to see, so sometimes you just don't get any kind of indication that you can click on something. That happens mainly with the movement stuff, but again, as I said, we'll get to it. The office area is basically to get you used to the item collection and inventory puzzles of the game, but also this music. The soundtrack honestly sounds like something out of Mission Impossible. George has done lots of spy-like things, but has never been spy-like himself. The dramatic music doesn't really ever change and pops up every time something slightly dramatic happens, including the hacking later on. I don't know if I love it or hate it. I probably do like it, but you do hear it too often that it gets a bit jarring. So George's first job is to get out of this room. Thugs are outside, so you need to go through this door in the back. This is George's office. George can't open this door, so he has to use this golf club here to break through it. This golf club will stay with you through the whole game, and it turns out it's something that he actually created himself. You'll get into the back room and Anna Maria will sass you, as she will all game long, and you'll close the door and push the filing cabinet in front of it to keep the thugs out. You can then look at this wonderful building and for the first time in the game, sit there and in absolute wonder, go, why? What is this building? Why is there a giant hole in the roof of George's back office's ceiling? I don't understand. This is the first game that travels to America, and the first area they give you is these rundown buildings. Nickel might have been poor, but she had a lovely apartment. George works in a building that is falling apart quite fast, to be honest. In fact, it just gets worse when we head next door. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. Let's back up. First up, we need to rip off the Anna Maria-shaped bandage. As I said, she'll sass George all the time, and we'll get dialogue like this.
Aren't you supposed to be good at this sort of thing?
No, not anymore. I gave it up.
Tell that to them.
Yeah, right.
So what do we do now?
I'm working on it.
First up, Anna Maria doesn't know us, yet instantly is treating us like Nickel would. Even worse than Nickel would, she's actually quite mean. This instantly made me dislike this character. I don't like George, but I don't like George in a fun way, and I like when characters do give him what he gives them back tenfold. But George hasn't done or said anything in this game yet, and she's just being rude. George is being dragged into this dumb situation by a stranger, and she gets sassy? Secondly, why is George ruffled by this? He never usually minds giving as good as he gets back at the person again, so why is he ruffled by Anna Maria? I mean, there might be reasons, but we'll get to that about halfway in, and I have opinions, and I know you are all here for my personal opinions on everything, so sit back and wait for that. Again, you'll get a little bit of dialogue every time that they think they are safe, so crawling through this hole will give you a little more plot before Anna Maria shows she's the strongest person in the world by grabbing hold of the bottom of an elevator and just holding it still. Or something like that, I guess. It is up to George to find a way to hold it for good, and you'll be happy to know there is a box-shaped object in the corner that you can just push over. Well, actually, first up, you can use the golf club for the second time and wedge it open. After wedging it open, Anna Maria will be free, and you can then wedge the box under there, as you'll need the club later on in the game, especially in a few minutes' time. This actually is the third time we've had to stop an elevator. First, we did back in the second game to stop anyone coming up to the floor you saved Nickel from, and in 3 we did it to stop mainly Petra and her gun coming up the elevator from the secret basement under the theater in Paris. If Broken Sword does one thing, it is to show that elevators should be scared of one George Stober and any piece of junk he has on hand that could block them, because block them he will. With the elevator sorted, you can crawl through the grate after having Anna Maria help you take it off, and onto the ledge of the building, and thus one of my biggest gripes of Broken Sword, the Angel of Death appears for the first time. Every NPC in this game is blind. You are up here. It is not hard to see this from the ground, no doubt. I am sure if I was outside, which I haven't been for 5 years now, and someone was at this height crawling across a building, I would see it. If not, then whilst the game makes no noise, when George gets to the fire escape, I have heard these in real life. They are not quiet things to walk on, and it is also just above where this guy is. At no point does he hear us or even see us. Good for us, I guess. This becomes a running pet peeve for me throughout the entire playthrough, people just apparently being blind at all points to what is happening quite close to them, and the world George living in just apparently having no sound to it at all. Don't worry, I'll have another example of it soon enough. When on the roof of the building, your main goal is to get across the buildings. We have these big contraptions on each side of the building, so if you climb up the one on your side, you can throw the chain down so you can swing across. Just here lies the problem with the lack of hotspot detection in this game. I hold firm that the hotspots were always on screen in 3 when you get close to something because the world was so detailed in a very realistic way that you would never be able to figure out what could and couldn't be interacted with. This is a major problem with this game, especially this port of the game, because the cursor is so small, as are the hitbox of any item that you can interact with, that it's not necessarily obvious at first that you can interact with things, including this chain. Also, to be fair, I actually forgot to get the golf club, so I had to run back and was enjoying the very dramatic music in here again. And reason number 3 for the golf club is to grab the chain to swing over. This guy down below, having not heard a heavy chain, thinking itself down free or the swinging at all, just goes about his business. Anna Maria has nothing to grab hold of the chain with, or indeed probably any interest in doing the swinging, so we can move this platform on the other building around for her so that she can just walk over. Again, the problem here is that we know the other side was rusted, meaning these machines are probably going to be loud when they're moving, as well as probably having someone walking across them. But again, no one in the street hears or notices anything. Seriously, these guys need to learn to look around, or up, or do anything. Just anything. Use your ears. You should be able to hear these things. The tutorial doesn't stop in the next building. Was the goons can't be seen scrambling to figure out where we went? Because maybe they did see us move, I guess? The game didn't make that obvious one way or the other, but they're there and they're pointing and they think they know where we are. We're now going to be taught how badly the movement in this game actually is. So get ready for that. You basically have to get you and Anna Maria out of the building by getting to the bottom floor. Just the whole building is falling apart because why not? You'll start by getting up to this ledge, but you'll soon learn that the hotspots for places you can jump on or jump down from are really bad. Getting off of something is a pain and usually needs you to right click to let go because the hitbox for whatever the hotspot is will be basically impossible to figure out. Or the hotspot for the hitbox, I guess. Other way round. It also shows you how cheap the game is. Characters often teleport because it is easier than making a cutscene or a reason for it. For example, these wires are sparking because you broke the machine that turns them off. You'll need to ask Anna Maria to hold the switch. You'll pass by and then open this door, which is the door that Anna Maria can get to you by, just without communicating with her at all that was what was happening. Without the sparking of the wires being heard again, she is right back at the door, and the moment she's in, the wires start to spark again. Teleporting NPCs is something I can deal with, but in a game series where I expect a little bit of quality and thought put into it, you'll notice it. You'll notice it fast, and by the end of the game, you'll be done with it. It just ends up making the characters in the game soulless. Later on, I'll talk at length about how the game just feels like a game. It has no immersion at times. It just feels like mechanics put together for the sake of it, and this is one of the ways it stops the game from feeling like an epic adventure like the other games did. Back in the room, and your last puzzle for the tutorial area is to open this door. George is going about this all wrong. He gets Anna Maria to pull on the door, then instead of getting to the other side, then keeping it up, he does it from this side. Not only that, but we know Anna Maria is apparently the strongest human alive, and would not have any problems keeping this lifted up, so why the heck not have her do that? I just don't get it. Outside, and Anna Maria will call for a taxi, and will be off to her hotel room, whilst we get this cutscene from the goons.
Come on. That's amazing. First taxi I ever saw stop in this neighborhood.
Hell! This is bad, Tony! This is nearly a screw-up!
No way is this a screw-up!
Yeah, maybe you're right. I found her bag. At least now we know where she's staying.
Dumbass! We already know where she's staying!
We do? Oh, yeah. It's a screw-up, all right.
Now, I've not necessarily ever been super picky about things like this, but having to replay this game hurt me, so I do love how this guy is meant to be picking something out of Anna Maria's bag, but he just doesn't have anything in his hand at all. And people said this was better than the Sleeping Dragon. So before we go to the next part, we need to talk about the plot. Broken Sword is a series known for slowly introducing you to whatever is happening around George at any given time. The first game starts with a clown blowing up the cafe that George is in and unravels a mystery involving Templars and ancient assassins. Moving on to the second, and you have Nickel being kidnapped. She was gonna write a story on drug smuggling and ended up being thrown into a Mesoamerican god being brought back to life plot. Even 3, as much as I complained about it, had the hooks of seeing people being killed or indeed being framed for a murder. Now, the Angel of Death does both all of the above and yet has none of the charm or beauty that the other games had. Anna Maria shows up, and instantly things happen. The reason that it becomes personal is just circumstance. George doesn't actually need to get involved, he does just because that is who George is. But this massive escape is meant to get us invested in whatever this woman is up to. In between all the moments we have, she'll give us tidbits about a manuscript that she has, which is a family heirloom according to her that she wants George to help solve. Nowhere does this game explain to anyone how George is known for deciphering manuscripts. We don't know how she got our details or why we're the only person that can help her. We also just blindly believe her, which is on theme with all of the blindness going on in this game. But George never just instantly believed anyone without seeing something for himself at least first. George is rude and usually rather one-minded, but in The Angel of Death he just outright believes every word out of Anna Maria's mouth, even though the very first thing she has him do is run away from the mafia she's dragged along with her. It isn't the worst story, but by the end of it, I wasn't a fan. It is the weakest story by far, and whilst the game did start with a bang for me, as a long-time fan of the series, it was completely the wrong kind of bang, but it was also kind of how the series was going in general. We started with a literal bang in the first game, and then slowly the game has ramped up the danger George finds himself in at the beginning of each and every new installment. This somehow ranks above dangling off a cliff in a plane on the absurd, though. In our next stop on the places that look amazing to visit in America tour, we go to Alfonso's, this rundown looking hotel that Anna Maria is staying in. Or I should say old, until you get upstairs, it doesn't look too bad, I guess. That being said, for a family with a manuscript as an heirloom, you'd think that Anna Maria could afford to stay in a nicer looking place, but then the plot wouldn't work, because why would a nicer looking place let goons hang around inside, or indeed let George do his Georgianing? Anna Maria will recognize this guy at the desk and will leave to hide out in the alley until George figures out how to get to her room, seeing as the goons have told us she forgot her purse in our office. Alfonso has 2 people hanging around. Alfonso himself, who is angry behind the desk. His receptionist didn't show up for work, so he now has to do work himself. Poor guy. Then you have Thelwell over here, who is obsessed with geese and sat reading a book about geese that he will not let you touch no matter what because it's important. He's also jumpy as hell, so every time you talk to him, even though you are right in front of him and obviously about to interact with him, you'll startle him like this.
Hello again.
If the characters in the last game were kind of forgettable, which they are, the characters in this just don't matter, other than 2. You'll love those 2 when we get to them, but it sure ain't these 2. There isn't anything inherently wrong with them, but they don't come over as characters themselves. In the last game, they're still fun characters, some bad voice acting, sure, but overall it was full of interesting people who fit a point to the story at hand. In this game, they're just a mechanic. They're there to give dialogue, and half the time the dialogue isn't even important. And it's not world building either, like other characters in the games have been. They're just not fun, they're just there because Broken Sword has lots of NPCs. I know before anyone says that games are just mechanics to push the story forward, you are meant to put meat over the mechanics to make people care. I do not care about anyone in this game, because everyone in this game are just words on my screen. They don't necessarily react to George or the situations well. They are empty shells filled with pointless dialogue. Half the time George doesn't even say goodbye to them and just wanders off after you finish, which is disappointing. After 3 games that built up amazing worlds full of amazing characters, or at least try to see this game so soulless is sad. We'll talk about how to deal with conversations here as well, and it is pretty much the same as every game. When you start a conversation, the topics that you can talk to any character about pop up at the bottom of the screen. Gone is being able to ask about any item in your inventory, something that has slowly been taken out of the series game by game, but I can understand it. Writing dialogue for multiple items with multiple people costs time and money. That being said, at least for the first part of the game, you'll be able to ask about the golf club for whatever reason. There is one problem though. From time to time, again, I don't know if it is just a game thing or a port thing, you'll press a prompt and then the person answering will answer without George actually saying anything. This is weird because they usually do at least have George say something, because you aren't meant to be controlling George. He was meant to be his own person. Again, if this is just a port thing, fair, but it adds to that feeling of just being a game and having no interest in immersing you in the world, because characters can't just read our minds apparently. It doesn't actually happen a lot, but enough for me to have noticed it. So what are we doing here? Alfonso's might be run down and dingy looking, but instead of redecorating to make this hotel look a little nicer, he's got these security doors that only let you in if you have your room key. Well, we don't have a room key, and there are no rooms available, so we need to find a key, and if you look at the book in Thelwall's hand, you'll see that his key is in the book. This is maybe one of 3 times that you get to use the phone as a phone. You'll get a flyer from Alfonso that you can look at in your inventory and get the phone number of the hotel. When you realize that you need to remove Thelwall to get the book and have hit all the in-game markers for you to be able to do that, because man did it take me a while to figure out what markers the game needed me to hit before I was able to ask for Thelwall to come to the phone, you can phone Alfonso and ask him to get Thelwall for you so that you can talk to him. This is one of the few timed events in the game. If you aren't fast enough because you've just left him on hold, Thelwall will return and you'll have to do it again. As long as you've picked up the book, you'll have the card. With the card, Alfonso won't question you just walking through the doors, so you can now go up to the 2nd floor and find this guy. Knockoff Elvis is once again part of the Mafia, and he won't let you in or go near the storage cupboard for whatever reason.
Hey, get away from there.
I'm only looking for some bleach for my bathroom.
Well, go look someplace else.
Anybody ever tell you you have wonderful people skills?
You also can't go further up because it's being sprayed for bugs, but you do have a lot of dead bugs on the ground which you can pick up. You'd think this was a bit strange, but George did keep a dead worm in his pocket whilst traveling the world in the 2nd game, so this isn't that strange honestly for this man, and you can use it right away anyway, so it's not going to be stuck in there all the time. You see, there's this lighter on the counter behind the glass, and a clock here that Alfonso will not allow you to touch.
Hey, you, leave that clock alone.
I was just admiring it.
Ah, so you've had that new laser eye surgery, have you?
Huh?
The surgery that attaches your eyeballs to your hands?
But I don't have... I get it.
You do? So back off.
You bet.
Potentially one of the only times a character gets a funny line of dialogue that works with the previous game's sense of humor, and it just so happens to be Alfonso. You tried, my friend, and I appreciate that.
I'm looking for...
So you just put the bug on the clock to distract Alfonso before stealing the lighter and going back upstairs. There's another of the timing puzzles right away as well. I have to give the game creators some credit that they did not hesitate to bring in someone trying to be Elvis to the cast of characters. There is no better way to highlight that you are indeed in America than having someone who based themselves off of Elvis. And I know this because so much media over the years have made this point. America in this game is pretty disappointing, and I'm sad that this is the representation of George's homeland we got. Broken down buildings, the Mafia, and now a guy dressed as Elvis. Elvis here won't let you open the window, but you note that there are sprinklers above him. If you wait to see him dancing in the background, and this is a lovely camera angle for this puzzle, I have to give the game that, then you'll be able to open the window whilst he's distracted without him noticing somehow. You can then walk away and he'll start to feel the cold, so he'll turn his back on you to close the window again. These flowers on the table are described as being dry, so with the lighter in hand you can set them on fire, causing the sprinklers to go off and this guy to book it out of the corridor.
My suit! My hair! My suit!
This gives you the ability to get into Anna Maria's room, which, as you can imagine, has already been searched. They might have gotten the manuscript, but they also wanted Anna Maria, and she wasn't there. I don't know why either George or Anna Maria would think that the manuscript would still be there, when they've already seen the goons hanging out outside and inside the hotel, but apparently we did think it would be there. There isn't anything but a pen to pick up, so you need to make your way to the bathroom to let Anna Maria in via the gap you're about to make, I guess. One thing I always give Broken Sword is that you can't softlock yourself. For example, for the smallest of seconds, I thought I had softlocked myself by using the string on the AC unit before I turned it off. Turns out it ended up on the floor, and I just missed that this was the string on the floor for the longest time. But it is nice that the game lets you fail and do it again properly. With the blades off, you can tie the string to them, turn it back on, and destroy the AC unit, which again, no one will hear, even though I'm sure that it's super loud. And then Anna Maria will be able to enter the room, realizing the manuscript is gone, which we should have known to begin with.
Oh my god! What's happened here? The whole place has been turned over. And the manuscript, it's gone! Gone!
I'm sorry, Anna Maria, but we'll figure out what to do, I promise.
Oh, George, it just means so much to me.
I know.
My family. We're not rich, you see. The treasure. I think I've built it up so much.
Anna Maria won't have much to say, because no NPC ever has anything to say, but we can't leave either, because not only are there still goons out on the street waiting for her, but the Elvis guy is now just stood in the elevator keeping an eye out. It also means you still can't interact with the cleaning cupboard, which obviously has someone in there at this point. That being said, as much as he refuses to let you talk to anyone, he doesn't stop you from sliding some paper and a pen under the door, so whomever is in there can give you the code for the door, and you can just let them out. When you get in there, we meet the receptionist. She did show up for work, but got thrown in the cupboard here. How she was able to write down the code and slide the pen and paper under the door again, I don't know when she's tied up like this, but you can just let her go and she'll give you some info, as well as flirt with George, who, to be fair, is looking pretty good in this game, before realizing that the goon who tied her up is still in the room and chasing after him.
Go on.
He also had a tattoo. A tattoo of a snake wrapped around an immense...
Don't mind me.
That's him! You won't get away this time, punk!
With everyone distracted, you'll automatically leave with Anna Maria to go back to the office.
Anna Maria, the goons are gone, but the cops will be here soon. We better get out of here.
But where are we gonna go?
To see a friend about your manuscript.
Why the Mafia are hiding out in the hotel waiting for her, yet no one is waiting at George's office, I don't know. He escaped with her. Of course this would now be a place that you could stake out to see if they return. In fact, we leave Anna Maria here and come back again later. So at one point she is very kidnappable, but they never bothered to come back to George's office. Virgil here has been apparently sat around upset about his MP3 player the whole time. Oh, MP3 players, what a blast from the past.
This is my MP3 player, man. What's left of it, the greatest soul and R&B collection ever smashed, destroyed by your pals. How am I gonna work without the sounds of Maggie J. Blind, huh? How am I gonna sleep without the greatest hits of Barry Brown, the hippo of love? How am I gonna sing in my shower without my dose of Malteser?
Right now, Virgil isn't important, other than to give you the clue that he's angry about his MP3 player. Virgil doesn't really get much more of an explanation as a character than being in business with George at the Bell's Bond place, and again, that is kind of the problem. No one matters, so why should I care? Virgil is just grumpy MP3 player dude. We'll head into our office and find cigarettes on our desk. No one we know smokes, and they aren't Anna Maria's, so we take them and head back to Alfonso's because that's the only other place we've got to go. When we get there, the police have shown up. This is like one of the creepiest moments in the game, where you talk to everyone and they just kind of stare into space. There is no attempt whatsoever to make this look more normal or natural. They just kind of stand still, watching everything. It's unnerving. Sleeping Dragon had cutscenes with people being animated, and that great one where the Colonel marches past us and interrupts us talking to Bruno. Characters had idle animations, even if they were overused, and even in the older games, it felt like you were talking to people that were moving and breathing and living. Again, this is just lifeless and feels very unnatural. Like, look at Alfonso here. He doesn't look like he's doing okay anymore. Broken Sword as a series has always felt alive. It feels like a film that you were living in. I've already said it, and it won't make sense to anyone until they've played a game like it, but the game has so little charm, so little care taken in the small details that the series became so well known for, that it just feels like you're playing for the sake of it. It always reminds you that you are just playing a game because there is nothing creative in there to give it any kind of life, which is sad. It feels cheap. It doesn't look cheap, but it feels cheap. And then it makes it boring, which is one of the worst things a game, especially a mystery puzzle game that hangs on you getting into the plot of the game in the first place, can be. You have to talk to everyone just to get what's going on. Bellwell left the minute he got spooked by all the noise. Alfonso was just kind of there. The receptionist is very happy we helped her, but the police officer isn't that happy.
Oh, I don't know about save the day, but hey, I'm happy with Hero.
Listen to me, Sonny. I don't like heroes, which means I don't like you. So next time, leave it to the professionals.
I'll remember that. Next time.
If you show the police officer the cigarettes, he'll tell you that they are a brand that gets smuggled in because they are illegal here in the States, and points you towards the meatpacking area ran by the mafia. I don't know why he's telling us any of these things, honestly, but that is what he does. Also, you will need to use the item in the inventory with the police officer to ask about it. It doesn't come up naturally as a question, which is kinda sad. It adds a little more pointing and clicking to the point-and-click game, though, so there is that. There isn't anything else to do here, but I did miss mentioning that the maps are back. Yes, after losing them in the second game, we finally have a map back, and they are really good as well. They are back to being like street maps. Where you can go is easily seen as they are just big buildings plonked straight on the map, and hovering over them will tell you where you're going. The OG is still the better of the two maps, but I love having the maps back and having them have some kind of style to them as well. So, we'll click over here on the meat factory, and I will praise Broken Sword, the Angel of Death, for one thing I truly think it improved on over the Sleeping Dragon. I complained so much about the Sleeping Dragon having these giant areas that you can explore with very little in them, and not enough help signposting where you are meant to be going for the puzzles. I don't need my handheld, but when I can run around 3 floors with multiple rooms, and what I'm looking for is a tiny little thing at the front of a stage on one screen, you have to be more clear with what you want me to be doing. Angel of Death doesn't have that problem. Areas still feel big, but they feel manageable. They very naturally, and this is the only natural thing they do in this game, show you the way by highlighting it with camera angles whilst entering areas. For example, in the meatpacking factory, to stop us from going too far in, it opens with us being able to see Chico here in the salami shop, making sure you instantly knew that you had at least one NPC close at hand to talk to. When you later explore inside the factory, doors are always locked until you need them unlocked, not even by your hands. NPCs moving around the building and cutscenes will have the environment open up for George naturally. The meatpacking factory is a look at how good the game could have felt if a tiny bit more love and care had been put into it. We'll start with Chico though, and you'll recognize him from the cutscene where he rifles through Anna Maria's purse. He isn't the smartest goon you could come across, but don't let that fool you. Chico loves salami and doesn't really understand why George doesn't love it too.
Thanks, but no. Spicy foods don't agree with me.
You mean you don't eat salami?
No.
Not ever?
Not really. I better get on it.
Like never?
Just kidding. I'm crazy about salami. I die for salami. I love salami.
Yeah, and I love you too. You're a funny guy. Hey, don't I know you? You on TV?
Oh, I've just got one of those faces.
I never forget a face, you know. Yeah, it'll come to me. Funny guy.
He's actually a fun character to talk to in a game full of characters that are only kind of air to talk to. He's also the most threatening person you'll talk to, as he very heavily hints, to the point of nearly just outright saying it, that the special salami is made of humans.
So what salami would you recommend for me?
I know it the minute you walked in the door, sir. The Martino Vintage. The me plus ultra of the salami world.
Nice Latin, I'm impressed.
You see, the Martino Vintage utilizes only the tenderest meat. Hung and bled for 3 whole days whilst being constantly beaten.
Oh, really? What do you beat it with?
Baseball bats. Anyway, when the meat's ready, the boss himself grinds it up. From one batch, we can make 50 salamis. Each one goes to a different store as a one-off special. This is my only 28-year vintage, and it's going cheap.
Wow. To think that salami's been around for 28 years.
Ha! Are you crazy? 28's the age of the meat when it goes into the salami.
Oh, I see.
It is obvious he isn't going to help with getting you into the factory, but you notice a bloodied apron behind him, so you can offer him the cigarettes, which might have been his in the first place as a trade. He won't give you the apron because that's silly, but he will give you the special salami, which is apparently less silly. That being said, just trading the item is the key to the apron, because when you've given him the cigarette, you can leave and hide behind these pallets. I say hide because, again, everyone in this game is blind, so just being next to some pallets is basically like going invisible for George. And much like how Elvis did his little dance, if you wait long enough, Chica will go outside and you can sneak in and grab his apron. Before I go on though, this is one of the most signpost puzzles they have. If you ever wondered how we learn how this works, then just listen to this.
You better believe it. But if I leave here and get found out, there'll be hell to pay. I'll have to wait until no one's around. Nice doing business with you.
Chico's got what he wants. Now all I have to do is hide, watch, and wait.
Honestly, it is the most hand-holdy clue you'll get. Maybe it was needed, but I don't know. Again, another thing that makes it just feel so much lesser than the other games. You do have to time this right, though, as if you move before he closes the door, he'll just come back out, and you have to wait all over again. I guess if you take too long too, then he potentially will come back as you try to grab the apron. I guess this is as good as time as any to complain about the general movement of the game, not the movement puzzles, but the actual movement. George and his pathing is awkward. In fact, I'd say it was much worse than in The Sleeping Dragon, which is why it's such a big complaint, because if they got it nearly right one game before, there is no need for it to be so cumbersome now. George is more tanky and less responsive. He'll take a minute to think about what you're asking him to do instead of just doing it. Often if you run in one direction, off one screen, the game will just pick what that random direction still is on the screen you go to. It isn't as easy as pressing left and right to have George turn either. You kind of have to come to a full stop to do any kind of meaningful turning. That just means if you end up running into a wall and you try to turn away, you're going to be running into that wall regardless of what buttons you're pressing. Now, this isn't actually going to ruin your playthrough, but it is worth noting because it does take some time to get used to. You can also just point George around the place, like in the original games, but it is even more clunky than just muddling through with the WASD controls. That being said, sometimes obviously you have to click to pick things up, and then his pathing can be questionable at those times, so it's a bit of a mess all round when it comes to moving George in this world. It's not the worst, could have been better. With the apron acquired though, you can make your way into the main factory. The guy at the door doesn't question you at all because why would he, so in you go to explore. There are a few rooms in here, and as I said, doors stay locked till you need to get through them. There aren't really any puzzles on how to open any of these doors, they just open when the time comes for them to be open, which I quite like in this game. Which does come to another positive I have for the game. The Angel of Death truly balances out puzzles, unlike the Sleeping Dragon. Just in this place alone, we've had to talk to Chico to find out what he wants, use an item in our inventory to swap for something he has, we had a time-based puzzle to grab the apron off the wall, and even to get here, we had a puzzle using a phone to distract someone, inventory-based puzzles, plenty of movement-based puzzles, and so on and so forth. If the Sleeping Dragon had half the variety that the first 30 to 60 minutes of Angel of Death had in the entire game, then the Sleeping Dragon would have been a very strong Broken Sword game. This will continue through Angel of Death. It never stops changing up what you are doing. You'll get sneaking puzzles, more hands-on logic puzzles, riddles, and so much more. It has the variety, but sadly none of the care put into the puzzle crafting that the other games did. Yeah, I said it was going to be a positive and then turned it on its head to a negative. Sorry about that, that's just how the game makes me feel. Interesting puzzles continue though, as you need to find out where the main goons are to steal the manuscript back from them. After wandering around for a little bit, you should have picked up at least a fire blanket, though you might, if you went to the van and potentially played a Discworld game before, picked up some ice that will probably have melted by the time you need it. When you reach the screen, George will say he can hear music and the camera will helpfully show you where it's coming from.
Aha!
Again, a good use of the camera to point you in the right direction in an area that is massive with lots of things to look at and do. Underneath the window is a forklift, and to the side is a trash bin. You can push the bin to the forklift, and an interesting twist on block pushing, seeing that one shove of the bin will send it flying a little bit further ahead of you, bit by bit. Just the forklift won't work unless you have the safety key, which is currently in this bone grinder. Our big problem here is being able to see that there is a key in the machine, or knowing that you can indeed touch it. Two problems I've already mentioned are very clear in this area. First is that the game never tells you that extra actions are on the right click, so often you can look at something, but the game never tells you that you can pick it up. As the other three games all kind of just did that for you, it isn't a natural thing to think about in a Broken Sword game. So, clicking on the key will have you look at it, not necessarily take it out. That is a massive problem later when trying to take the key out of the forklift, because just clicking on it will constantly raise and lower the bin from the forklift part of it. And if you click on it a couple times and that's all that happens, you might not necessarily think, well, I have to get the key out. You might look for a different solution to that puzzle. Secondly, it can be so hard to find the hotspots you need anyway in the first place. This is pixel hunting at its worst, and something I'll mention now, even though it isn't really relevant right at this moment, is the worst hotspots for talking to people. Often you need to actually hover over a person's head, else the game will just not know what you're doing. The entire body of an NPC can be clickable to talk to them. I don't need to focus on just the head to get them to talk to me. If this had been the first 3D game, I wouldn't have complained so much, but it isn't. If the game was notorious for it, I wouldn't complain, but it isn't. The Angel of Death truly tries to up the game for the series, but then just doesn't. So, with the key in the forklift and the bin ready to be lifted, you can get up and look through the grate to see the head honchos having a bit of a talk.
So then the bum tries to tell me it was my boys that screwed up. Huh. Everybody knows my boys are the best. Ain't that right, Mr. Spalacci, sir?
So I am told.
That's why you hired me.
Apparently.
Anyways, Tony's got cold feet now. Ain't that right, fellas?
That's right, Mr. Fingers, sir.
I guess he's gonna be, hanging around a long time before another job comes his way.
You crack me up, Mr. Fingers.
You see? Messing with my wife I can deal with, but screwing my business, why, that's personal. So, anyhow, Mr. Spalacci, sir, here we are, the manuscript safe and sound. Filed under F. F for found. Clever, huh?
So much better than F for failure, don't you think? Or G for garrote, or H for hanged himself, huh?
Very funny, Mr. Spalacci, sir. Yes, very funny.
I've got to find a way to get those guys out of there.
You now need to get them to leave the room, though, and this is where the ice comes in. Okay, I said there weren't many time puzzles, but I guess what I meant was they mainly all situated in this part of the game. It's also one of those times where a new door is open, so it is worth having a look around again so you can both go get the log from the steam room and handle this meat here to feel that it's all greasy. Greasy meat, noted. With the group smoked out of the room, it is time for you to figure out how to get upstairs, and after finding Tony hanging, you can take his card and open the secret door, and then the problems I've been mentioning are all present. Getting up the stairs can be a pain, not because it is difficult, but because you can't just run up them like you would have in Sleeping Dragon. George is too tanky, so you need to take it a little slower, else he'll just run into walls constantly. Not only that, but the area is so badly lit. I get it. It is a secret stairwell hidden away, but it's just a pain to see. Next up is this glitch. You have this light box that kind of follows George around. It feels like a hangover from when George was the chosen one in the last game, but it's just a square, and as you move in front of the window, it follows you. It happens in a few other places, and as I said, later on I do figure out what it is, so stay tuned for the gripping conclusion of what is this light box problem. Then you have this puzzle, which is everything I just said personified. Not quite what I just said, because that's about a glitch, but what I was saying about hotspots and just game mechanics in general. You can look at this cabinet, you know it is where the manuscript is, but you can't do anything but look at it. You need a game marker to pass before you can do anything else. That game marker is looking at this window here. Just the window isn't obvious as a thing to look at. It doesn't look like it's open or anything unless you're really paying attention. With how dark this room is, it just looks like any of the other windows. And with its hitbox being so small and no hotspots to look at it, then you just don't know what's happening and you'll end up walking around the room and indeed the whole building trying to figure out what the hell you have to do. Now, this could be tied in with the glitch. Maybe the windows were meant to be lighter in general, and it would be easier to look at, but as you can see, in my playthrough, if you didn't know this window was open and therefore clickable, then you wouldn't be able to see it. After you've passed that game marker, you might not even think to look at the cabinet again, but you can with the right click, and now you can push the cabinet. Just the cabinet is rusted at the wheel, so you can.
The secure cabinet's wheels are rusted and seized up. Nothing a bit of oil or grease won't fix.
I don't remember the first time I played this or how long it took me to figure all this out, but it isn't easy. This isn't an intelligent puzzle that is just hard to figure out. It isn't the goat puzzle that relied on you thinking George would do something he never did in the game before. This is just badly designed and highlights the design flaws of the game in particular. Things aren't easy to see. They've added too many steps to things that in the first 3 games were very simple, and whilst they have the great camera direction to show you where you need to go as you walk into important places, when you are in those places it is hard to tell what you can and can't interact with at a glance. To unrust the wheels, what you need to do is run back to the greasy meat with a hanky that you find in the desk. I quite like that you have to interact with the hanky to remove the picture that was wrapped up inside. It gives a little layer to the items going into your inventory, much like having to read the flyer for the hotel to get its number off it. And then you can run back with some meat grease on your hanky and slap the grease on the wheels to push the cabinet out of the window. The puzzles here are fun, don't get me wrong. It's the execution that makes it bad, and I think that is my main problem with the game overall. You'll hear me whine maybe way too often, but at the end of the day, Angel of Death is a good game to play, but how they created it makes it harder to play than it should have been, and just having the skeleton of a good game isn't enough. It needs to be fun and interesting to play, and very often it fails at both of those things. Though there are some funny moments like this.
You guys finish up now and head home, you hear?
What about the new guy?
What new guy?
Fella started just now.
Ah, let him be. Hey, he ain't gonna starve, right?
Fingers and the other guys are leaving. Now's my chance to get the manuscript.
We're just lucky these guys are really dumb. We also have stupid moments like this as well.
I put the keys back in the bone cruncher.
Like, I did question how smart sticking anything in a bone grinder is, but the game just does this, and it isn't just the manuscript that is spit out, but an MP3 player too. Good thing we know someone that needs that. It is silly, but it's the kind of silly I'll forgive. I just like it, which is why I'm mentioning it. Now, we get to head back to the office and to Anna Maria and kind of to Virgil. You get to look at the manuscript, and I will say that the manuscript is beautiful. It keeps the same style and feel as the one in Shadows of the Templar, but it serves a very different purpose. I am in 2 minds about the use of the manuscript in this game. There are a few things you can look at on the manuscript, and you can't leave until you've looked at them all. It will pop up with the name of whatever it is you are hovering over, so just go slowly, and you'll get them all eventually. There is text in the middle that George will read out, some symbols you might want to write down, and so on and so forth. At this point, though, it means nothing to George, and this is one of the things that I'm kind of about. You need to talk to Virgil. Giving him the MP3 player will have him forgive us for something we didn't actually do, and he'll give us the gift of being able to hack into systems because George is very aware he doesn't know how to decipher this manuscript, so he needs the help of Andre, but Andre's website has been blocked for George for reasons. The tutorial of the hacking isn't the best in my opinion. It uses a lot of tech language that just wasn't really needed. It could have been dumbed down, and then at the end of it all we got this.
There you go. Now let's see what my friend has in his database. Oh, no! Oh boy, we didn't want to see that. He is one outrageous dude. Okay, George, your turn.
I don't really get the joke or what they were going for, but sure. It is then our turn to go and hack into Andre's website, when we could have probably just looked at it on another person's phone. Now, the hacking isn't bad, but it isn't fun either. It is basically a mirror puzzle, as you have to reflect beams off of the mirror parts of the database, having them pass through all these PCs on screen and landing in the rotor-looking object. It gets a bit more complex. Later, there will be things with red crosses next to them. If you touch them, it will restart the whole thing, and there will be boxes that only allow the beam to go one way. I feel the hacking is overused a little bit. It becomes a bit of a crutch in the later part of the game, and not just that, but the data you get from it also becomes a bit odd, but we'll get to it as we get to it. When you do successfully hack something that gives you more data like Andre's website, what you have to do is go into your notes. Your notes will keep track of what you are doing through the game. Then, when you have the ability to check something, you will click a hyperlink, and that is basically what Andre's website is. A bunch of hyperlinks to read a bunch of history on the Templars. That being said, it also has this great message from Andre explaining why George is banned, kind of. Those of you who know me will agree that I am a tolerant and open-minded man. It is therefore with particular regret that I must inform you that after making a number of brazen and fallacious claims, George Stobart, a man who would once have claimed many of you as friends, has been barred for life from accessing this repository. What these brazen and fallacious claims are, I don't know. I don't even know how to say fallacious. I'm hoping I'm saying it wrong, I'm probably not. Like, Andre knows this shit happens to him all the time. He seemed to accept that George had been knighted and brought into the Templars in the last game, so I wonder what the heck he did to upset Andre now. Also, is this a rabbit killing a goat with a sword? This would be where we go into our history corner, but honestly, most of this seems to add up. Some of this won't come as a surprise. It feels like an addition to what we learned in the first game about the end days of the Templars. In October 1307, Philip IV of France had the Templars rounded up. They were accused and potentially did worship Bahamut in some form, and whilst Bahamut is now very often depicted as a goat-human hybrid of some sort, that depiction was popularized and created in 1856, whereas the earliest mentions of Bahamut came from 1098. The Templars were accused of all sorts, including heresy and having homosexual relations with each other, though I couldn't find anyone saying that they kissed cats' anuses, but they did get accused of worshipping cat-headed idols, even if none were ever produced as evidence, and there are rumors that they did have to kiss random parts of idols as well. Jacques de Molay is a very real person. He was the 23rd and final Grand Master of the Knights of the Templar, and whilst the curse he set on Philip is questionable, it is very true that both Clement, Philip's false pope, and Philip himself passed away within a year of Molay being executed, with Philip's entire family collapsing within the next 14 years. It's one of those things where, does it really matter if curses are real? It came true either way. People also love to believe that someone shouted that Jacques de Molay was avenged when Louis XVI was executed, but that is now widely agreed to be a legend, mainly created to make it sound like the Templars were involved in some way with the French Revolution. When it comes to claims that people in history after the Templars disbanded were in fact Neo-Templars themselves, like Da Vinci and Columbus, so on and so forth, obviously there is no proof one way or the other, so we'll never know. With the history lesson pretty much just there on screen for you, I guess my retrospective is going to turn more into a moanspective because I have lots of problems with this. Or maybe not problems, it just makes me sad because it adds to the soullessness I feel in this game. In every game we've had this law dropped on us by characters who are either excited to share their knowledge or terrified of what their knowledge might lead to. Andre himself is a character in the game because he was the person who Nickel knew that was an expert in Templar history. We went to the museum once and he wasn't there, so we got all these fake facts from the guard there just to come back later and have a really interesting conversation with Andre. Now, in An Angel with Death, you have to read reams of text in silence. There is nothing interesting about it. There's not even any music playing for you. You don't even get pictures, and all you're doing is tapping through hyperlinks. The sad thing is that it isn't even important information. If you just click on every hyperlink and go back to the manuscript, George will have all the information in his head regardless of whether you read it. This game doesn't even really care if you care about the history of the Templars or any of the lore behind what's happening. If this is their way of trying to make you care, they did it in the most backwards and boring way possible. Why would I read this? It isn't even written in an interesting way. Broken Sword has always been about slowly learning the truth from people and investigating things that people have never really seen before. This game takes all the mystery away and sits you down to read a really boring Wikipedia article. It's not even nicely presented to you. Game, I do this anyway. I've been playing Dark Souls on stream for the first time, and I open about 200 tabs per page I'm reading about any given NPC in that game. I don't want to do this in a game as well. I might be boring in real life, but I want my games to be interesting, not boring like me. With this disappointing moment over with, George comes to the conclusion that we have to go to Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, and go to Topkapi Cathedral, which, as always, is a very real place. So, to adventure, and this cutscene.
Room service. Come in.
Good afternoon, Effendi. I bring chai For you and your good lady wife.
Thank you. She's not my wife, you know.
Ah, of course. Yes, well, you are indeed blessed, sir, to have such a beautiful mistress.
No, what I mean is, we haven't, we don't, there's nothing happening.
Do not worry, sir. A few nights here in the beautiful Pasha Palace, and the sweet creature will know your special gift of romantic love, I am sure. I shall leave you to your rejuvenating sleep, sir.
Hi, George.
Yeah, hi.
What a sweet waiter. What was he saying?
Oh, nothing. The weather. Rain. Says it's not expected. Never has been. All an ugly rumor. Which is good. Time to find the treasure, huh? I'll be in the corridor while you get dressed.
Now, rewind that cutscene. I have questions. Why are we sharing a room? That itself isn't too worrying, but why is Anna Maria naked in bed when we're sharing a room with her? Why is George letting room service in when Anna Maria is naked in bed? Why is the conversation with the waiter in the first place? And then look at the pathing he has. What is any of this? Please explain in the comments what it is that is going on right now, because I need someone to explain it to me. George is a very lucky man, because with the shift of throwing everything against the wall that this game had, he finally got a romance plot. He did have one. I think people working on this game seem to have forgotten Nico, but he had a wonderful slow burn romance with her. George is often the reason that they break up, but we don't really see any of their relationship happen on screen. We're told what George did between games and passing comments here and there, but that's about it. This game just goes full, here is another pretty lady, this time with no personality and no feisty French sass that makes the men go weak. It is time for George to fall in love with the most boring character we could create. Why did they have to name her Anna? Anna is such a cool name. It just makes no sense compared to what they had built beforehand with Nico at all. We have no reason to like Anna Maria. Any reason George might like her was probably happening off screen, because he also has no reason to like her. But here we are, romancing. After this cutscene, we'll be downstairs in the reception area. Welcome to Istanbul, because you might end up hating a big deal of it. Right now, you have two people to talk to. The waiter is in the dining area, and then this receptionist here. She is sadly the only woman that gets some of the classic George charm.
You know, it's really hard to find clubs that fit the female frame.
Oh, really? I'm sure in your case that's not a problem.
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Well, your frame is, it would, look good on a golf club?
My frame? On a golf club?
Istanbul. What a city. What a city.
No one could ever forget that George stood but Riz for too long. To be fair on it, the build-up and end of Istanbul is actually pretty decent. Or I should say the build-up and middle end to Istanbul. It'll make sense in a moment. For a start, we need a plan. We need to know where we're going and figure out what we're doing. The receptionist isn't helpful at all for this part, but you might as well talk to her. The waiter, on the other hand, will give you some information on Topekapi Cathedral, but mainly after you talk to both these NPCs, you'll be looking at this map on the wall and clicking on each and every area to get a bit of a lowdown where anything is in this place. This will not help at all, I feel. I personally never figured my path from this, and you'll soon see why. When you reach the cathedral, you'll be told that you can only get in if you are press. This is the start of NPCs being extremely dumb, which I don't like. George will tell them that he is press, and go through every single media outlet he can before he falls on being a radio presenter. You'll be able to fake being Eamon from the last game. He never shows up in this game, but he is in Istanbul. The guards are fans of his, but this guard in particular only knows his voice, but you still can't get in without IDs, so it's back to the hotel you go. Lucky for us, Istanbul only has one hotel, and there's now a package on the counter. You talk to the receptionist to find out that it's for Eamon and that she's in love with him. You can ask Anna Maria to steal the package as you show off your golf form.
That was actually quite impressive.
Thank you. It's all in the grip, of course.
So, how famous are you?
Oh, very famous.
I am not convinced.
With the package then in hand, you can just open it right there in front of her, because that isn't sus at all. Again, NPCs in this game are blind. If you're not talking to them, they don't have any life in them. After changing the filter on the ID, you can head back to the cathedral and get past the first guard. This game does have deaths, but the deaths are kind of boring. They happen, but you just kind of fade to black and try again. Instead of just arresting you or something, this guard will shoot you if you try to use the ID to get past him.
You stole his ID.
Instead, they're going to introduce us to the sneaking mechanics. And when I say sneaking mechanics, I mean this game did exactly what I praised 3 for not doing, which is basically not giving you sneaking mechanics at all, and just pretend that the guards are blind. Yay. But also, Eamon is Irish, and at no point does this guard ever question George's accent. You can't be that big of a fan if you can't tell an American apart from an Irish person, really. That's not even a dig at the Irish American, but you need to at least have an accent to sound like an actual Irish person, and George just doesn't. Even when he does the catchphrase, he does it in the most boring George way possible. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about every single sneaking part of this section. I'm not a guide, I'm just a retrospective. It goes on for a little bit, on par, but a little shorter than the one in Prague and the Sleeping Dragon, I'd say. As I said though, we don't have a sneak, so whilst they give you interesting ways to do this, it just makes little to no sense. The first guy, you need to climb up on the scaffolding to grab his phone, you learn his number, run to the other side of the scaffolding and phone him so he's busy on the phone, just he's off the phone and walking around again by the time you climb up. At no point are you really sneaking around. You stand in front of large open areas with guards in it looking at you, and you're meant to believe, I guess, it's dark enough that they won't notice a random guy running around. I do like having to drink this guy's tea and then hanging the salami for this dog to get distracted, but again, you walk so close to them and in the open that it seems really stupid that nothing sees you. When you get into the museum, for example, you know that there are guards patrolling right outside these giant doors with giant windows in them, but none of the guards outside ever look in to see you running around inside. After hacking the system to turn the lasers onto test mode, you'll have to set a small fire in the vent to get some smoke going so you can see the lasers to time running between them. These lasers are all basically on the same timer, blinking off and on, so you just have to walk past them, up to the next one, and onwards every time. It's a good idea, could have been executed a little better, but it's a fun puzzle nonetheless. At the end of this though, you do have a fun puzzle. All these doors have been locked with puzzles. It was meant to keep the women in the harem in and stop them from escaping with their lovers. It's one of those each lever does a different thing, so find the right combo to undo the bars puzzles, and I love that. You then get to let Annakuma in, who just so happens to have found a way to this door and knows that this is the exact door she needs to be behind and is there exactly the moment she needs to be there.
Gee, thanks you.
We already know that Annakuma is basically Superman. I don't know why we aren't just playing as her. George is unneeded at this point. The next door just needs you both to turn the knobs at the same time, which leads us to the absolute worst made stealth section in this game. And I'm not joking. They are all bad, but this one makes me angry. How do these guys not see us come in to begin with, or hear us opening the door? How do they not see Annakuma just staring deadly into the abyss? How do they not see George running around, especially as you can actually run pretty much the entire way this way for no reason, and this guard is like legit just looking in this direction, staring at the fountain? How do they not hear a single thing I'm doing? This is just poor, and it comes back to everything I've said before. This game is just game mechanics and empty NPCs plonked on a map to make it look like real people doing very real people things, but with no actual personality in them. They are numbers doing what the numbers tell them to do, depending on what the main number, us, are doing at any given moment. If you run into the circle that you can't see around these guards' feet, they suddenly can see you and will shoot you, but these circles are weird and not really something you can easily run into unless you are dumb or trying to. George just casually runs behind this guy, right next to this other guy, to this box to break the fountain. When you've done it correctly, the guy on the bench moves, realizing the breaker box is broken, and goes to talk to this dude. This is enough of a distraction for George and Annakuma to be able to jump into the now apparently empty fountain, because that is how fountains work, guys. Move the middle part of it without being seen or heard, even though that would make a huge amount of noise. And the guards are only over there, and this thing is massive, and they don't see it. So we get to fall into the sewers without anyone ever noticing or showing any way that this fountain works. In fact, I hadn't even thought about this till now. If this fountain was using the water in the fountain to do its fountain stuff, then the water wouldn't drain because it would just be there, used by the fountain itself to spur out of the top of the fountain. I don't know words. Don't come here looking for words. Do you know what I mean? If it was self-fulfilling water stuff, it wouldn't drain itself. But it looks like this whole thing is just pumping out sewer water. Or maybe these tubes are meant to be what is pumping water into the fountain. But I don't know. This is such a dumb thing. Why wasn't there just a sewer hole? George is literally known as Sewer Jacques to people. He knows how to open manholes. I'm sticking with what I just said. I've just heard what it sounds like. I'm sticking with it, though. This fountain bit is making me sound dumb. I'm ending it. Just know, this is not how fountains work in my brain, and I don't understand it. In the sewer, though, you will have these pipes, and you will have a pipe puzzle that will make Fictional cry, because she does not know how to puzzle with pipes. I know, I've played a game with pipes and puzzles with her. It was awful. These pipes over here are the start of the first of 2 puzzle gauntlets that we have, and it's kind of a badly put together puzzle to begin with. See, you'll be running between all these valves to send all the water the right way, and the only way to know it's the right way is that the water will start to rush out of this block here. That's because this block is the one you want to remove, and the water will be what moves it. There isn't any real clues to this. Maybe if you click on the brick, if you realize this brick is loose, then it will tell you something, but you just kind of have to mess around until you figure out what is going on. There's no kind of hint at what you're doing here. When the block is out, we're in the gauntlet though, and this is where my feeling of the manuscript came from. You see, there's no clue to what to do with the pipes, the manuscripts, and yes, I'll spoil you because we get a second one later on. The manuscripts in this game are treated like King's Quest game manual. You know, where a load of puzzle solutions in riddle form were placed inside it and you had to read it. It was like a copyright protection thing, I believe, because you had to go up the mountain and you could only tell it if you had the manual. So if you had a fake copy of the game, you couldn't do it because you needed the manual. I loved that. It was really well done. Whilst the original manuscript was used to direct George and Nico, this one kind of just tells you what to do. I know technically the original told you what to do, but it felt less like a direct solution and more like a nudge towards adventures and puzzles. This is just a direct guide to how to solve these puzzles. This is like just putting a guide up on your phone and following that. That's genuinely what this is. They aren't bad puzzles to say though, but they aren't difficult enough that having them spelled out doesn't just stop them from being extremely easy at this point. First up, you need Anna Maria to put her hand on this panel whilst George stands on the symbol on the floor. That will open this door, which is a room with a bunch of statues that you can't reach. Well, you can reach one of them. This one you can reach. These statues will basically just match the pictures to the manuscript puzzles, and they aren't bad. You won't be able to touch the actual turnable bits of the statue. Instead, each bit will be represented by a Roman numeral, and you just press the Roman numeral and it will turn its respective dial. I'm not against that, but it again is a little sad. You can't just touch the bits you want to touch and move them the way you want to move them. It also just stops it from being much of a puzzle. So what you first want to do is take notes. Whether you're old school like me and write it down in a notebook, or just take photos or screen caps, it is better to have the symbols you are looking at in front of you, because coming out to just look at the manuscript over and over is a bit long-winded, and that isn't a negative, that's just a point-and-click game thing. Some games do let you see what you need within a puzzle, but these are rare, so you just need to take some notes and you'll be fine. First up are these symbols. When you have them right, a new statue will be freed, and you can move on to the fleur-de-lis patterns. Same thing to do, just turn them using the Roman numerals. A bit of a disappointment that these aren't one of those, the inner ring moves and then the outer ring also moves at the same time puzzles, but still. The third is then opened, and this is the coat of arms, so get those right and empty spaces will open up in the wall.
Excellent.
Why? Well, George will tell us why.
Anna Maria, could you go stand in one of the alcoves?
Why?
The manuscript says we need to take our place in the circle.
Oh, I see. What happens then?
Well, if we're lucky, we find ourselves in the treasure room.
And I get the treasure.
That's the plan.
Aha.
What?
Nothing.
So we do join the circle, and I do like that this doesn't feel like another one of those chosen thing ones that the third game had going on. You have to work with someone, which I really, really like. With all this done, the door opens and you'll go into the final chamber.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Me too. You know something? I don't think it's medieval. I think it's even older.
Almost biblical.
Yeah, it seems familiar. Why is that?
So many paintings of angels, I guess.
You're right. Botticelli, Michelangelo.
But none so beautiful as this.
So, how are we gonna get it out?
Oh, it feels like stealing.
Are you kidding? I don't see anyone else down here putting in the hours.
You're right. Come on, let's do it.
Atta girl.
So Anna Maria is here for this cherub angel-like statue. To get it, you need to solve another puzzle, and this one is fun, but also a bit clunky, much like a lot of this game, but I appreciate that it knew it was going to be difficult and didn't make it more difficult than it needed to be. This is a map of the world, where you can see different cities around it, and then using the manuscript, you basically have to figure out the order of which city to stand on and activate. It is based on the journey talked about on the manuscript, and thankfully when you start activating the puzzle, you can still just look at what everything is on the map before activating it. Again, because it is actually really hard to even tell where the cities are, let alone remember which is which. It is a nicely done puzzle that leads to the statue coming free, but we still need to push and pull the pedestal it was on to get out of the room. All in all, the puzzles here are fine. They are all very similar, but they were different to what we've been doing so far in the game. The sneaking in Istanbul is awful, and we do have more of that to come, but in a smaller area and not quite as badly planned. Or at least a different flavor of bad than this kind of bad. But puzzle-wise so far, it's been decent. Then we get into my least favorite cutscene in the whole of Broken Sword, or at least the first part is. Let us dissect this in 2 parts. Roll the footage, me.
We did it, George.
I know. Are we brilliant or what?
Champagne's on me.
No way, that's my treat.
Okay, I'll buy you dinner.
Deal. Oh, what a meal.
What an evening.
Yep.
Well, time for bed, I think.
Time for sofa. Better hit the sack.
George, wouldn't you be more comfortable here?
Comfortable?
Uh-huh.
Does that mean what I think it means?
Want to show me what you think it means?
How long you got?
All night. That enough?
It'll do. For starters.
One thing.
Yeah?
Who's Nico? Last night, you talked about her in your sleep.
Oh, she's somebody I knew. Once. In a past life.
A different country.
Something like that.
One more thing.
Last one.
Turn the angel round, would you?
We'll rewind this and talk about it before we go on to the second part. Why? Well, that is my question. Why? As I've already said, Broken Sword had this beautiful will they won't they slow burn relationship with Nico going on in the background. This had been going on for 3 games now, and the most we ever saw was a kiss at the end of the first game. 2 if you include the really weird moment that George kisses her when she's all tied up. I still don't like that moment. I'll complain about it. George and Anna Maria haven't known each other long, and yet here they are, sleeping together? George is very obviously smitten with Anna Maria. He'd have to have been to follow her around for no reason like this. I don't think the Mafia showing up and destroying his office is enough of a personal reason for George to care. He's had a lot worse, and this woman is the reason they were after him in the first place. She never gave him a reason to trust her. She's not nice to him or anything. There's no reason for us to help her. We just kind of went along with it. But why? Why did we need to go there? Well, one reason is for the jokes, and if you haven't watched a single Broken Sword video other than this, then maybe you should go back and look at them because they're fantastic, other than the third one. I did mess that one up, but still, it's decent, go watch it. But you'll know the jokes very well if you have watched them. But it also goes in with the more James Bondy type game they're going for. Bond always needs to get the girl, and in this case, so did George, whether it made sense or not. And it didn't make sense, and I didn't like it, and I don't know why it's there. The second half of the cutscene is one of those you might ask yourself how I got here type deals.
My grandfather used to say to me, George, life is full of ups and downs, and with a face like yours, you'd better get used to the downs. Very funny, but in the end, not far from the truth. So how did it all go wrong this time? Let's go back to the Pasha Palace. Anna Maria and I had, I was asleep when I heard a noise. I didn't see who did it or what they did with Anna Maria, but when I came around, she was gone, and in her place was the waiter, which was strange. Kinda reassuring. I hadn't ordered room service, but that wasn't why he was there. He wanted answers, and I believed him when he said he'd shoot me through each kneecap if he didn't get them. I think it's safe to say he had his own agenda, and somehow he knew about the cherub. I seem to remember saying Anna Maria's been kidnapped, but the waiter was more interested in the cherub. How big was it? Was it really gold? Who was I working for? Then, suddenly, sirens. Terrific, I thought. I'm gonna be rescued from this lunatic. It was the cavalry, all right, and they sure were coming to arrest somebody. Me. My face had been recognized on security footage at Topkapi. They thought I was a terrorist. And the waiter? Yeah, he was no waiter. He was some kind of cop, name of Mevlut. Things were just getting peachier and peachier. Mevlut told him to seal the room, then he left. A soldier with an interesting face came really close and said, "Mr. George, you have been a very bad boy. You are going to prison for a long, long time." I thanked him, like a good American citizen, and then it all went black. And here I am. Not your average vacation cruise, huh?
I do kind of like this cutscene. It's very different from what we usually get, and Ralph Saxon narrates it perfectly. It is funny and informative of what happened. Anna Maria has gone missing. George has been arrested for breaking into the cathedral. The only time George has ever been actually arrested for breaking and entering in the whole game series, so about time, I guess. And now we're in a prison trying to figure out how to get out. I mean, technically, actually, no, this is the second time we were arrested in... Where the hell were we? Corrimonte! In Corrimonte! We were arrested in Corrimonte. And no, I didn't just Google that. I sat here in silence for a couple minutes and thought to myself, I'll just edit out the thinking stage. Corrimonte. We were very much arrested in Corrimonte for breaking and entering and trying to let a terrorist out. And he was a terrorist because he was singing, though he wasn't really also just singing. But he was singing. That was why he was being executed. That scene... I was wrong, we have been arrested before. Now, puzzle-wise, this area is just a condensed version of what has come before it. We're still in Istanbul, and we still have the same variety we've had. Some inventory-based puzzles, there's another block in the wall we need to get through, because that seems to be a thing in this one, making holes in walls and crawling through. And then a very small sneaking section at the end. It is well crafted, if not well executed, which I say all the time about this game because it's just true. It is overall better than what came before it, mainly because it's just shorter. When you get into the second cell, we'll be visited by these two. The nun will tell you to meet her on the roof, which you find crazy seeing you're locked up in a cell, but it's time for an escape. Using the marbles you've been given, you can throw them on the floor to make the guard slip up and just grab his key. The fall is enough for the guard to be permanently knocked out, apparently. Next room has this good pupper in it, but bad guard pupper. If you get close, you'll have to restart, but the dog just stands and looks at you as you grab his dog food and feed him, and then you can leave because pupper was hungry, apparently. You then have this guard that you can distract to sneak around to this area, and I hate that you can't just walk up to the nun. You have to click on the nun to interact with her, else you'll just end up stuck on this side of the roof. Weird that it is set up like that, but okay, fine, whatever game. I'll click on the nun and find the dumbest twist of the game so far.
Thanks for the toys, sister, but what do we do now? Pray for a miracle?
No, Georges. You remain patient and ask politely.
Nico!
Mind my wimple, Georges. What would Father Nicholas say?
But what are you doing here?
Saving you from a heroic death, I think.
Well, I appreciate it, but how did you get here, and what's with the outfit?
Oh, Georges, when you didn't call for so long, I began to despair. And then I decided to renounce the world.
Oh my god. You mean, you really are a nun?
Hey, Georges, get real. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I knew that.
So, you fancy a swim?
With you? Anytime, but how?
I've got a zip wire all rigged up, ready and waiting.
Well, what's keeping us?
Just like old times, huh?
Let's go.
Now, I really want to be happy about the nickel reveal. I haven't mentioned it yet because if you are here because you've never played the game, never intend to play the game, and you just want to know, I wanted it to be a surprise for you. So, yay, Nickel is here, question mark. It wasn't well done, it doesn't make sense, and it is never really explained well. When George asks for an explanation, we get this.
Nico, what are you doing here, really?
I'm here to help you, Georges.
You know what I mean. How did you know I was in trouble?
Well, Father Nicholas called me. And I figured if I didn't help you, nobody would.
Nothing to do with selling a story, then?
George, please! Of course, if there's a story at the end of it, I'd be a fool not to write it.
Uh-huh.
But like, why? Again, why is the only question you'll ever have for this game? Why are they doing this? Why is this happening? What is going on? What is different from why? They're the same kind of thing. Why am I questioning my questions? Why do people know that George and Nico are a duo? Why are they known for anything? Where was Nico? How much time has passed that Nico would be able to be called in and just come running? I get that Nico came because George was potentially in danger, but why is she staying? Well, I guess because there might be a story, and true to her journalistic heart, she might just want to get the scoop on that, but none of this really makes any sense, and it was just an easy way to shoehorn Nico into the second half of the game. Why they've shoehorned her in now is because George Bond over here needs a Bond girl, and as one has up and got themselves kidnapped, or left as Nico seems to think, he needs another, and Nico is already an established Dobert girl, so why not? It does give an interesting change to the dynamic to the relationship though. As I've said, through time, we've never really seen any of the downs to the George and Nico relationship dynamic. We've seen them fall in love, we've seen them come back to each other time and time again, but the reason they are never together or officially ever really a couple is always kept off screen. Mainly George goes back home for a myriad of different reasons, which always makes you wonder if he ever really cared for Nico that much. They have always had that tension around Andre too, who Nico seems faintly sad about hearing the name of in this one.
Maybe you'd prefer to be tucked up in a library. With Labino, for instance?
Tucked up with Lobino? Yeah, maybe.
Now the tables turn in this game though, as anytime Anna Maria is brought up, Nico will react with either deep distrust of her, laughing at George for sleeping with someone he barely knew, and being taken in by her and or abandoned, depending on what mood Nico is in when she's making the jokes. Sometimes it indeed comes over as being a bit jealous as well. There is no one single emotion that the game writers decided to settle on for Nico with the revelation that George slept with a random woman he barely knows, so they just kind of give her all of the emotions, all of the time. Which again makes you wonder why they even bothered bringing her back. Fun fact though, is for the first time a French-speaking person was picked for the role. Enter voice actress 4 out of 4, Catherine Pagan. I'm sorry if I've got your surname wrong, it looks like Pagan to me, it could be anything. She also has some extremely funny dialogue and great moments. In fact, falling back on the more laid-back and silly role that George usually slots into, whilst he's having a whole thing about Anna Maria being missing and so on and so forth, things are happening. You just wait, it's gonna be funny. Talking of Anna Maria being missing, Nico takes the lead and basically says we need to get back into our room to find clues as to where Anna Maria might have gone. So we get to play as Nico for the tiniest little bit, while she goes up to the receptionist to tell them that she needs to get into Eamon's room because Eamon is dead.
Actually, what I really need is Eamon's room key.
Oh, do you now?
I can't really tell you why, but I'm a nun. You can trust me.
Ha! If I gave you the key, you'd have to deal with Eamon himself. And I can tell you, last time I saw him, he was in a terrible mood.
Actually, last time I saw him, he was in more than a terrible mood.
What do you mean?
He was dead.
What?
Gone. Passed away.
But how?
Took his own life. The poor, poor boy.
But he and I were talking only an hour ago.
Yes, it was very sudden. His heart was broken.
Oh, God!
By the way, he asked me to give you this photo of himself.
So at the end, he was thinking of me?
Oh, yes. He said, remember me to the receptionist.
He said that?
Well, more or less. I don't recall exactly.
So all those things he said to me, those words, he meant everyone?
Oh, he did. He did.
He really loved me.
Yes, with all his heart.
Oh?
Can I have the key?
Of course.
This is just cold. Imagine not only telling someone that someone else is dead, which is a lie to begin with, but then giving them the final false message of them being in love with them. Nico is cold. This man is going to come back to the hotel. She's going to be absolutely confused, and she's going to think he's in love with her. It's going to be weird. We never see that. That's sad. I would have liked to seen that, actually, but it was cold. Remember when we just got an overbearing rich English woman to threaten people? Somehow, I feel less awful now over the way Lady P handled things than how Nico constantly handles anything in this game. Lady P, I miss you.
I shouldn't think my feminine charms would be much use in this case, but a good dose of English arrogance might do the trick. I say! You there! Flunky!
Oui, madame.
Listen carefully. You do understand English, don't you?
But of course, madame.
Good. I wish to deposit some jewelry for safekeeping.
I understand.
Are you quite certain?
Oh, bien sûr, madame.
Over to you, my dear.
George is obviously able to teleport and not be noticed, because that is how this game works. So with us able to go up the stairs for game reasons, and not ones that make sense, we change back to George, who has to do a little climbing puzzle to get to the room that him and Anna Maria had been staying in. This isn't really that hard, but it does get you ready for the bigger version of this puzzle coming up very soon. Again, the main problem with any movement puzzle is that the hitbox and hotspots for the movement just aren't well done. It is hard to figure out where you can drop from. Sometimes it is even hard to figure out where you can climb to, so you just have to be careful and patient with the game. When you get to the room, you'll pick up some rosary that has been left on the floor and a credit card receipt in the bin. That is basically all you can do before the police officer barges in. Just he isn't a police officer, he is Secret Services. He was also the guy that dressed up and got Nico to come save you, and right now he just wants you out of Istanbul with as little noise as possible. I feel this really wasn't needed. It doesn't add anything to the game, and we were gonna go anyway. It felt like they had to give some reasoning to how Nico got there, or who helped Nico break us out, but it just adds more questions and more pointlessness to it all. Is it really that important that this guy helped us, or what his real job is? Not really. You'll end up in the lobby of the hotel, but before you actually leave, you'll have to hack a little more to find out just where Anna Maria is going by the credit card information. Just look at this extreme puzzling action. We're going to Rome, guys. That is where Anna Maria was staying, and it ends up being the best part of this game. It has much more memorable characters and ends up getting goofier than ever before. It is also the most blurst of times you'll ever have in these games, mainly because of Archie over here. Archie will be a character you never forget, but not for the right reasons. He also kinda looks like Hagrid, so there is that as well. You'll either love him or hate him, probably love to hate him, but he is by far the most memorable character of the past 2 games. What was that? That is creepy. I do not like where his hand ended up either. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. This isn't to say Mark here isn't memorable in his own way. If Archie is the cursed character we'll remember, then Mark is the lovable dude that will be sad to forget. I mention these two because they are also the first 2 people you meet in Rome. You end up on this street, which is the street that Anna Maria lives on. We see a nice shiny yellow car in the corner, a bunch of pigeons and their poop, and you can even interact with the intercoms in the buildings to get moments like these.
Pronto? Excuse me, do you know anything about the Black Cat?
Yeah, it sprays my washing. You see it, you wring its neck, okay?
But mainly, you are figuring out how to get into this building. Mark also lives in this building. Archie doesn't live in any building. Mark won't just take your word that you're here on Anna Maria's behalf, which is unique for this game because most people just seem to blindly believe everything they are told. Mark is great though. You see, Mark loves action movies. He's in love with Lucy Chu, probably a play on Lucy Liu, and knows a bunch of movies that I'm sure are total bangers. There's nothing more that Mark would like to be than a hero of his own story, and I can understand that. Also, just note how Nico is staring into space at this moment, like the lifeless NPC she is. It'll be important in a minute, like literally a minute. It's just like back in the hotel, where if you weren't talking to one of the 3 characters, they were just staring into space like their switches had been turned off. Again, it is so noticeable in this game, because Broken Sword had always done a lot to keep the world feeling lived in, and these zombie stares are just off-putting. This car over here is Mark's. He is very proud of it. Keep that in mind. Archie, on the other hand, only owns this bread. He'll tell you the grand stories about who he is and his past, and honestly, they could be correct, they could be hogswash. Who knows, but he tells them with such confidence.
The Right Honourable the Viscount Lonsdale. But you can call me Lord Lonsdale. Or my lord. Or just Lonsdale. Or Archie. Whatever pulls your goat. Eh, what?
Why I told you to remember Nico is that they went out of their way to actually have Nico walk around when it comes to talking to Archie, so they could have Archie's model follow her around staring at her butt. Now, this is very heavy-handed clue that you'll have to distract Archie with Nico, but it also gave us the above cutscene, which I loved. Just, I also need to talk about my second playthrough, the one I'm using mostly for this review, because I think I've solved the problem of the light boxes with this cutscene. You see, when the cutscene played for me this time on this playthrough, it actually looked like this. And it just so happens that the lightbox problem I was having was in the top left quarter of my screen as well. It pops up in a few other cutscenes later that always fixes itself, and it's just a really weird glitch to have. I honestly just thought the window in the meatpacking factory was weird, as I didn't remember the first playthrough very well anyway, but no, it seems that something was going on with the game this time, and it just loved the top left quarter of my screen, and only that. Also, it kind of makes the scene even funnier, because if I had got this first time around, I would have just thought it was a drunk man's vision on her ass. Like, he's not going to see much other than that square anyway. Funnily enough, this was the only major glitch I had in this game. Later on, I'll complain about a really common glitch, or I guess bug, that happens that I got when I streamed the game, but didn't get when I played it the second time, and wanted it to happen so I could talk about it, but it didn't happen. Thankfully, I've got other footage of it, so we will get to talk about it. That is for much later, though, so yeah. Anna Maria lives in the same building as Mark. Mark won't let you in, but he does have this car he's very proud of. Archie will tell you that Mark leaves a key under the flower pots, and he is also the proud owner of some very moldy bread. Archie won't give you his bread. You can set Nico on him.
You distract him while I try and steal his bread.
So it's come to this, huh, Georges?
That's the spirit.
I say, that's too far. Even for Uncle Archie.
Huh?
Oh, can't a girl have a bit of fun anymore? That's too bad.
But it doesn't work. See, Archie likes to look, not necessarily to have to deal with the person he's watching. That makes him sound even creepier. Maybe he deserves it, though. He is kind of creepy. So you'll send Nico to Mark instead, which distracts Archie long enough to grab his bread. Who loves bread? Well, pigeons love bread. So if you sprinkle some over Mark's car, you'll set off the pigeons and distract Mark long enough to get the key from under the flower pot and just let yourself into the building.
Here it is.
I do love this puzzle. Is it perfect? No. Is it fun? Yeah. Did it let characters be characters? For the first time in this game, yes. Yes, it did. And that was the biggest plus for it. You got to meet two really interesting people. You had to talk to them to get the info you need, and then upset one of them to get what you want. We're so back, guys. Just to be not so back in the next puzzle, because we have the bigger of the two movement puzzles. This time, you'll be traversing over two buildings to get to Anna Maria's window, because the way to your left is broken. So why are we not back? Because this puzzle makes no sense. Well, the puzzle itself does, but what I'm about to say doesn't. Archie here is on the floor downstairs. He does not see us. He does not say anything. He doesn't call out. He just is there looking up into the sky where we are. Not only that, but this nun over here is just stood looking at us. Again, everyone is just blind. She would 100% be able to see us climb out and start making our way to her side of the building. If you try to climb over her balcony, she'll throw you out of the building, but apparently she doesn't mind you climbing over all the way to the balconies, and then is very easily distracted for someone who would have been able to see me climbing over there. Sadly, I will also complain that the nun is basically just Nico's model reused. I get that making models might be expensive and time-consuming, but again, it's just something that is a little disappointing to see. As for the actual puzzles, it isn't hard and actually well crafted. It still suffered from the same problems that the other movement puzzles did, but I enjoyed it overall. When you get inside, there isn't much to look at, but we have come to the end of an era, guys. Every single video on Broken Sword so far, I've shown this clip, so have it in full.
I don't believe it. It's a picture of Anna Maria, dressed as a nun.
Cute nun.
Very cute.
So what's the deal?
This nun is Anna Maria.
No way.
Yes way, very way, in a big way.
Whoa! You've been dating a nun, Georges. A nun!
Well, she wasn't wearing all that gear when I met her.
In some countries, they execute you for that, George.
Well, maybe she's not a real nun. Maybe she's at a costume party.
Yeah, and those goons who attacked you in New York were the 7 dwarves.
Okay, you've had your fun. Now this is serious.
Sorry, George, you're right. What's that she's standing in front of?
I think it says Memento Mori? It looks like it could be part of the Vatican walls.
Terrific. They go for miles.
Yep, they do. We should maybe look for something else to narrow it down. I'll take this. You never know when it might come in handy.
Too bad I left my nun outfit back in Istanbul. Might have been useful.
It didn't really suit you.
Guess you're the expert.
Oh, funny. Very funny.
I will never be able to use it again. I'm very sad. It had a good run, though. Yeah, Anna Maria is a nun. If you've watched any of my other videos, you would have already known that. Big shocking twist. Why shocking? Because George loses his actual mind over the fact that he might have slept with a nun, which is hilarious to me. Even Nico agrees that it is so funny and will bring it up both in funny ways and kind of bitter X ways for the rest of the game. When in Rome, they had to make sure the Vatican was somehow involved in the mystery, of course. Anna Maria's apartment is pretty empty. There are some science books that Nico takes an interest in, but she never really goes into much more detail about them. It is more just a hint at the next twist, which we'll get to, I'm sure. But for George, his main concern is finding out where in the world Anna Maria was standing when taking this photo. Well, it just so happens that there are only 2 things in her house. One of them is a ticket to Phoenix, and the other is a rail ticket to a certain part of the Vatican. So whilst Nico stays to read the books, George gets on the train. On the way out, we'll meet Mark, who just at this point does not care what we're doing or whether or not we really should be in the house, because he's upset about his car, understandably. He does have a package for Anna Maria, but very obviously still doesn't trust us enough, just because we got into the apartment building, which is very fair on his behalf. We at least now know that Mark really does just live down the hallway. This will be important later, as will the package. You'll head off to the Vatican walls, and whilst it is a big area, there isn't much to do right now, right here. If you try to open these doors, which to be fair, I'm not sure why we would, but we do, the guards will tell you not to, and George will put on this pointless fake Texan accent.
You tourist, what do you think you're doing?
Is this the place where we booked the open-top bus?
No, it is down the road. Approximately 3.5 kilometers.
Heck, those are some pants. Do they sell them here?
No, you are being foolish. If you have inquiries, please use the doorbell.
Whoa, Rome. One hell of a place, huh?
I have no idea why he does, but it is what he does, because it is George, and who knows what goes on in his head. All you need to actually do here right now is talk to the 2 nuns you can interact with. You'll find out that this is the wafer factory, and you'll also see that the nun, Sister Angelica here, has a list that you can't see, so it's time to find a way to distract her. How you do this is by hacking into the Vatican database and finding the number. I don't know what year this game is set. I'm gonna guess around 2006, when the game actually released, as the game tended to be close enough to the date of release for the games. But I just feel like there might be easier ways to find this information. There is still one hacking puzzle to come that I will go on a rant about, but it goes back to the Andre website. If George is banned for life, then why can't someone else just log in? I don't remember what the internet was like back in 2006 for all this hacking to be needed, but looking back now, 20 years in the future, man, I genuinely hate time, but I just don't know why everything needs to be hacked. Like, even if the internet was basic and you wouldn't be able to find the number easily, surely the number will still be semi-public. Find a different way. Why do we have to hack into everything? Ultimately, it comes down to the fact they created a cool idea, which is the hacking, had the phone, and wanted us to use it more, but the real annoying one comes a little later. Not the actual hacking puzzles, they're all pretty much the same. They can be a bit more complicated, but the bad thing comes, and I will laugh at it. We will all point and laugh. Now, I laughed at the Texan accent, but this next one gets a bit legit crazy. We've been talking to Sister Angelica this whole time. Much like the guards in Istanbul, we have told her a bunch of things already about who we are and what we're doing here. But the minute you distract her on the phone, look, that health inspector is meant to be here, and you put on a phony and quite terrible German accent, she just lets us in. You have to talk to her as George to get the option to fake being the health inspector, but she honestly doesn't bat an eyelid at any change of accent. At least George didn't put one on for Eamon, but I don't get how this works. Either way, she'll let you in and have the other nuns show you around. You'll get a basic tour of the machines, but they aren't doing anything at this minute. Now we get to bully nuns. George gets to let the frustrations out whilst thinking his soul has been condemned for sleeping with a nun by bullying them, especially this poor sister here. Being a bit of a dick to people is, after all, George's #1 hobby. You can't do anything with the big machine, so you'll have to head over to this corner where the sister will watch you throw a box on the floor, be within range of you as you throw moldy bread into another box that was seconds ago empty, have the fear of God put into her, thinking she's going to be in trouble for something she knows she hasn't done, before standing again within viewing distance of George, not only stealing something from another box, but climbing upstairs he's not meant to be going up, and probably actually messing around over here as well, that might actually be in line of sight of her. Again, everyone in this game is just blind. They don't see anything. I get that this whole thing was meant to be to distract her, but in any other game, even Broken Sword 3, distracting would mean actually removing them from line of sight of whatever it is George is doing. After pouring some wine into the machines, you get this cutscene.
Now then, Sister Serena, the next batch is ready. I'm sure you appreciate perfection, Mr. Steiner.
Oh, yes, but I rarely witness it. Outside my own bailiwick, of course.
Bailiwick?
Bless you.
Well, here we go. The next batch of classic wafers.
Oh, dear. So this is the color of perfection?
But how could this happen?
2 little words, Sister Angelica. Sloppy maintenance.
But that machine is cleaned every day.
In this case, it would seem cleanliness is not next to godliness. I have no choice but to close this place down.
Please, no. We have a large order to complete.
Such a shame I was not made more welcome.
Oh, Mr. Steiner, there must be something we can do.
One so rarely hears the word sorry these days. Wouldn't you agree, sister?
Sorry? Oh, I see. Mr. Steiner, I am very sorry for this terrible lapse.
With feeling?
Very, very sorry.
Well, I suppose if you can fix it now, then I might overlook the issue. But it has to be spotless.
Of course. You make yourself comfortable, and we'll knuckle down to it.
So terrified of what is going on with the machines, the nuns just leave George to do whatever he wants, which is to sneak into the Vatican grounds and into yet another terrible sneaking puzzle. Stealth just wasn't a thing they really thought about in this game. They just kind of put it in because it worked in the last one, and it's a good use of 3D spaces. Again, Sleeping Dragon at least gave George a sneak. This one just wants you to guess how blind an NPC is at any given time, and usually the answer is very. This is just one area though, and when you know the trick, it's pretty easy. You have these 2 guys in the center. Neither will pay much attention to you if you are careful. You just need to use the moldy bread on the plant pot on this side to get the pigeons, our wonderful weapons of choice in this game, to distract these 2 men, then sneak in without anyone seeing you. Again, they are all pretty blind, so as long as you sprint, which usually is a negative in these situations, but in this game is the only thing you can do, you'll be fine. Thankfully, inside the building, George only has one path. This trapdoor is ominous, but George can't open it, so you have to follow this corridor right to the end and get into someone's office. Of course, you can look around the room. There is this giant painting on the back wall that will come in handy later, but you should probably take note of the very obvious puzzle clues on the frame, and it is mainly there to give you a hint of who the bad guys might be. Whilst the Templars have their hands in religion, as you can imagine, this game doesn't really deal with them, and instead just kind of works around the Vatican and religion being evil. Obviously, we're in Rome. We've got the Vatican right there, why not? Nothing about the painting will be important right now though, so you'll have to look in the desk to find a folder on Anna Maria, just we aren't alone for very long, and I love this cutscene's beginning. It looks amazing seeing it through the eyes of the Cardinal on the way to his office. It is an interesting decision to have it work like that, and I really enjoyed that they tried something different with the cutscene, much like the "how did I end up like this" cutscene earlier. You cannot say that this game did not try. It did, just the good moments are very often followed by bad ones, or preceded, usually both preceded and then followed by bad bits. We'll get a little bit of lore on Anna Maria and the Cardinal outside with these guys.
Office supplies. Was that the best you could come up with?
Stinks, huh?
What are you now? A journalist?
A lawyer.
And your connection with this Anna Maria?
I knew in New York some people were trying to kill her.
Extraordinary.
I know. The Mafia, would you believe? Anyhow, I heard she worked here.
Tell him, Monsignor.
Anna Maria was indeed part of our order. She worked here in the library. 2 years ago, she stole some manuscripts and disappeared.
The scandal was kept out of the papers.
The Cardinal was furious. He vowed to find her and bring her to justice.
His wrath is most terrible to behold.
Yeah, most terrible, all right.
We have always feared the worst, the poor, misguided child.
But there can be no place for scandal here, sir.
Here, my card.
Oh, but please, no publicity.
I understand. Goodbye, Father. Monsignor, goodbye.
Just for George to head back to the apartment in Nico. Of course, George is mainly just happy that Anna Maria isn't a nun. Why this was his hang-up over anything else, I don't know, but he'll be extremely happy to know he didn't just upset God by sleeping with a nun. Nico will still be standing doing nothing in the apartment, because why have a game trigger there having her say anything interesting at all? Zombie NPCs are the best kind in Angel of Death. We do have a clue where to look next, though, if you remember. Our good friend Mark still has a package for Anna Maria, and now you have some Vatican ID, you can trick him into giving it to you by pretending that you are some kind of secret undercover Vatican police.
I'm a member of the Vatican Internal Investigation Team working under the guise of Father Gregor. Here's my card.
But you're American.
That may be so,
yeah, that's what we're going for. Of course, a sweet little Marquis here falls for it and hands you over the package, which you can open in front of him to find a DVD. Now, this is kind of reminiscent of the Sleeping Dragon itself, where Nico finds Vernon's DVD in the safe, and we get to watch it together. We didn't actually get to watch it together, we're watching this one together, though. In fact, this DVD also has a nerd in it, but a much less likable one in the form of this dude.
And finally, just when you thought diamonds were the ultimate gift, maybe it's time to rethink gold. No, not the kind of gold you put around your sweetheart's neck. We're talking monatomic gold. Let's go live now to Phoenix, Arizona to find out more. Susie, are you there?
Bob, I'm here in the desert with Ronald Maynard, a truly remarkable man who's made a discovery which could transform mankind. So, what's the story, Mr. Maynard?
What? Oh, right. Ever since I was a kid, I've been interested in alchemical myths. You know those stories about turning base metal into gold? Why I became a chemist. So anyways, I was out here about 3 years ago looking for crystals when I found this powder. White powder that was kind of... Well, it didn't behave, you see. It should. I mean, it was gold. But it wasn't heavy. It was light. So I did some experiments. And it was gold, but not like any gold that should exist. You could use it to fly, or to heal wounds, or project maybe into another universe. You see, the Egyptians wrote about it, the manna from heaven, remember? So anyhow, that's what I've got. And I've got a lab now that makes it. Tons of it. And I want to give it to the world.
Wow, that's amazing! So, Mr. Maynard, you're just going to hand this wonderful substance over. A gift to mankind.
What? Are you crazy? Of course not. I didn't say that. I'm gonna sell it. To the highest bidder. What's wrong with you people? Damn reporters, you do your research?
Ah, that is a shame. We seem to have lost our link there to Susie Balloon out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, until next week, be careful of yourself. Don't stub a toe.
Personally, I feel this is where the plot lost me. What plot? So far, we had a manuscript that Anna Maria said was a family heirloom that sent us to a golden statue. Her and the statue are now gone. We know nothing about it or really about Anna Maria. We now know that Anna Maria is being watched by the church for whatever reasons, and now we're being introduced to monatomic gold, which is whatever the heck this guy is talking about. These threads all end up colliding, as you can imagine, because of course they are gonna collide. It's the plot of a mystery story, they have to, but it just doesn't work for me. I don't think I need a mythical being, legendary organization, or anything like that to make a Broken Sword game good. I just think I need a good story. When you break any of the stories down, they are a bit silly, like an ancient assassin clan sending someone out to kill people dressed as a pixie or a clown, but the slow burn mystery and the story all coming together is one of the most important parts of the Broken Sword series. Angel of Death doesn't have that. We don't get small drops of what is going on. It takes this long for us to get any real idea of what we're facing, and even then we're basically thinking we're going up against the Mafia to save the girl George fell in love with, who we're not too certain is even on her side or a bad guy herself. Either way, this is where we split up. Nico goes to Phoenix to check out the guy with the gold, and George needs to find any clue he can. Remember this pen? Yeah, probably not, but this pen is what is the key to the next step. On the pen, we read about the Black Cat Club. You'll ask Mark about it and find out that it is an exclusive club that Mark is part of. He'll tell you roughly where it is, but warns you that you're not getting in. So of course you'll have to run out there just to find out that you are not getting in, and then run back to trick Mark into giving us his membership, because you need a membership to get in. And yes, we will have to trick him, I'm not gonna lie. We're using this sweet little boy, and I don't like it. How we do this? Well, that photo you had in the hanky in the meatpacking factory is of Lucy Chu. Now, this could have been a time when you actually would have to use the internet to find out what her autograph might look like and forge it. But George just scribbles whatever he wants onto the photo, and voila, we have a personalized bit of memorabilia to give Mark, who will happily then give you his membership card. And I just feel bad, but it is very on brand for George.
Wow! Oh, that's amazing. She hardly ever signs anything. What does it say?
To my biggest fan, may the heavens shine upon you for your support. Love, Lucy. Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Kiss, kiss, kiss?
Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Oh, I'm hot with envy. Oh, something like that would stand up proud as a centerpiece in my collection. Would you be willing to part with that photograph?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it is signed.
Okay. How about I give you, and I can't believe I'm doing this, my Black Cat membership card?
Oh, I don't know, Mark. You could get into big trouble doing that.
Trouble? Trouble is my middle name.
Well, since you're such a huge fan of Lucy Chu, I'll do it.
Oh, George, you don't know how happy you've made me.
I think I can guess.
Here you go, George, and thanks again.
Membership card in hand, we'll be able to infiltrate the Black Cat Club, and this is kind of pointless. I won't go into the details because it really is a simple area, but it really is just here to tell you that the Mafia don't actually have Anna Maria, but they do want Anna Maria, which we already knew. Oh, and Dwayne is here.
Dwayne, the guy has a talent for turning up the most unlikely places.
George, my old friend, how are you?
Dwayne? My God, is that you?
You know me, George, always in the thick of it.
Dwayne. God, the first time I met Dwayne and his wife Pearl was in South America. Back then, he nursed this insane idea that he was in the CIA. Things haven't changed.
Yes, we're going to see more of Dwayne than we ever wanted to. Pearl is not here, probably for good reasons, and we get more of Dwayne working for the Secret Services, but he really isn't that important to the plot and doesn't really do much. After talking to him, we'll be dragged off by the Mafia. They'll question us.
Where's the girl?
Girl? What girl?
Anna Maria.
You should know. You kidnapped her.
I see. What about the money?
What money?
The large sum of money.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Mr. Stobart, please answer my questions. It will make everything so much less painful in the end.
Then we'll have this on the radio.
Spalacci, sir. We got a girl.
You mean the girl?
No, sir, I don't think so. This one's different. She's called... Hey, lady, what's your name?
Nico Collard.
Nico? Hey! Nico! It's me, George!
She still won't talk, Mr. Spalacci, sir.
How very tiresome.
What shall I do with her, Mr. Spalacci?
This Nico, what does she know?
Nothing. She's just a journalist, I promise you.
Mr. Spalacci, what do you want me to do?
Apparently she knows nothing. Just deal with her.
Stick that gun in my face one more time and I'll shove it up your...
I didn't actually mean...
Nico!
George is knocked out, and we wake up and have to escape. I'll have things to say about the Nico stuff after we get out of the sex dungeon, because we're indeed in some kind of sex dungeon, because I think the people making the game just wanted to have sex toys in the game. There is a guy in this box as well, because again, why not? It is really simple. You just have to interact with everything you can interact with, and you'll slowly get George out of the chair. Looking out of this one-way window, you'll see the Cardinal talking to the Mafia guy. Does the American Mafia have much in common with the Italian Mafia, actually? Apparently, yeah, they share a common heritage stemming from immigration in the 19th century, but still, would the guys in the American Mafia, who are very much American, be operating in Italy, when if they were cooperating, they'd probably have Italian guys handling the Italian side and the Americans handling the American side? The truth is, making models is probably very hard. That is why the nun in the balcony was Nico's model, and why it is Spalacci is now in Rome for whatever reason. You'll have a small puzzle to get out. Much like the meat factory, the Mafia are done for the day, so everyone has left, and you can go grab your stuff, and with your items you'll be able to make a makeshift hook to grab a key from Dwayne, who is just hanging out in the sewer like the badass he is.
Good work, George. I'll attach the key. Now, I'd better scoot. Look after yourself, George.
Thanks, Dwayne.
He's got the key to the laundry room, so you just have to leave the club via the back door, and then it hits George that Nico, well, Nico might be dead.
What now? Does it even matter? Nico's dead. I need a drink. Or two. And if one green bottle should accidentally fall, there'll be no green bottles banging on the wall.
Well, George, and there's me thinking you were a quiet one.
Now, why aren't I dead yet? Oh, for pity's sake, finish me off.
Now, I understand George drinking himself stupid here, thinking that Nico is dead, but I love how fast he becomes sober when he realizes something is up. Rushing to the apartment, and George and Mark find a bomb.
It looks like they've left us a present.
Oh my god. Is that what I think it is?
Well, if you're thinking it's a crudely constructed bomb that could blow the whole block of the Kingdom Come, then you'd be right.
If we leave it alone, maybe it won't go off.
I wish that were the case, but that little timer on top tells me different. Mark, we need to defuse it.
We? What do you mean, we?
Looks like we've got 10 minutes.
But do you know what to do?
No, but I'm sure the military will have something like this on their database.
Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Yeah, call them too if you think they can help.
If you sit for 10 minutes, the bomb will explode, much like the Monkey Island Easter egg, that if you stay underwater long enough, because Guybrush can hold his breath for like 12 minutes or something, however long he says he is, you'll drown if you actually sit there for that amount of time. And it is also 10 minutes, I timed it, so good job there. Why 10 minutes though? Well, this is because we need more hacking, and this is where the hacking genuinely annoys me. It annoys me because just look at how dumb this is written. This is the US military writing a how to disarm a bomb website for idiots, and we had to hack into this? Honestly, it felt like someone wanted to be funny, but it really ruins the really dramatic moment we're having, and it gets so wordy and pointless that you can get annoyed and confused over what they want, because you know you don't have that much time before this whole place gets blown up anyway, but you are reading something that is trying to be funny, but really isn't funny, and really badly written, and the clues of what to do are badly put into it as well. It's just bad. Like, listen to this. Hi, and welcome to the US Army Field Emergency Database. Your friend in the field. Let's guess, you're in a hurry, and you got a problem, a bomb problem, and you don't see no experts rushing forward to give you a hand. So you've decided you're gonna defuse this fella all on your lonesome. Well, kick back and relax. Why? Because when you defuse that bomb, you're gonna be a hero. Yeah, US military, that's how they do it. Again, the puzzle isn't hard. None of the puzzles in this game are hard. You take the pink gloves from Mark and just have to figure out exactly what kind of bomb it is and do your best not to blow yourself up. With this done, we get another big twist.
Well, here goes. Mark! Mark, I did it! We saved the building!
I never doubted it for a moment, George.
I think I'll take this for safekeeping.
Oh no, they're back.
Well, if they are, they'll be sorry they came back so soon. Right, you take the...
Well, hello, boys. What's this? Playtime? Georges, nice gloves. Georges? Georges, what's the matter? Georges?
Yeah, Nico is back, and we should have known she would have been. Hell, this game gave George an actual romance with Anna Maria, but they had to bring Nico back for half the game. There was no way in hell the actual second protagonist of the series was gonna die off-screen to some goon. Before we do the flashback to what Nico was doing in Phoenix, though, I need a reality check. In The Sleeping Dragon, we had a scene where Nico tells us she was locked up for 2 days. Why is this important? Well, it is important because this game gives you no idea of how long anything is, right? They split up, and in the same day, George goes to the club and gets kidnapped. He gets knocked out after he hears Nico being kidnapped, so for the player, this feels like maybe a few hours give or take in game. You have no real clue how long this is going on for. Here are 2 flights from Rome to Phoenix in 2026. Personally, I have never been out of Europe, but we're meant to believe that Nico, a French national, was able to just hop on a plane to Phoenix, get to Phoenix within hours, and then return to Rome all within a day or two? I get that games can run on the rule of cool, but again, it is the kind of detail that Broken Sword always looked into and would make realistic to a point. Like when George went to Ireland, he came back the next day, and that was only from Ireland to Paris. This is just dumb. Nico literally walks out of the door and is just instantly in America. So again, it adds into that we're not living in a world they're building, but a game where all the characters and actions are just numbers to keep going forward. And when you start to feel that the game is just a game with no heart or soul to it, then you just stop caring. I've already stopped caring, but there are just so many points that make you want to stop caring even more. There are a bunch of ways they could have made this work, they just decided not to. It didn't even need to be Phoenix that she went to, it could have happened anywhere. So Phoenix then. We do a flashback, playing as Nico, and it's always fun to be able to play as her. I love that since the second game, they've slowly given Nico something to do. Again, if you've played the director's cut of the first game, Nico had her own puzzles, and they weren't bad, but in the main game series, she didn't get to do anything in the first game. That being said, Phoenix is not the most fun area. It's not the worst either, but it's not fun. We'll start with some climbing and movement puzzles, which are fine. Like most of the game, it's just fine. Everything is fine. It doesn't really give you many hints on what to do, but you basically have to get to the top of this building to use this antenna as a slingshot to shoot down the ladder over there. Sure, whatever. You'll then get up on this side, roll this tube over to crawl to the other side, before finding a hole that you can jump down into and end up in this office. Nico gets to do some hacking in here too. First up is to get into this computer to find out that the password for the door is going to be an easy one, but probably backwards. Looking at this photo, you learn that the only number you will learn in this office, indeed at all for Nico, is on this photo. When you click on the door to leave, it will give you the 2 numbers, 1 forward, 1 backwards. So you need a hack to know that it's backwards. But again, you don't get to put the numbers in or anything. It's just uninspired gameplay. She'll then fall into another hole before running through a bunch of corridors. Because of course we need to return to corridor running. We salute the corridors of the Sleeping Dragon. These are still better though. Nico will basically run around checking out rooms, getting randomly locked into some before coming face to face with this guy. But before I play that cutscene, what the hell is this? You want to get this off the top shelf, but apparently Nico can't raise her arm high enough to grab it, even though, like, she could. So she needs to stand on a table, and then it turns out to be gum. Gum. Yeah, gum. So, yeah, it was gum. Let's roll this cutscene.
The door's locked.
Mr. Spilacci, what do you want me to do?
Apparently she knows nothing. Just deal with her.
Stick that gun in my face one more time and I'll shove it up your...
Hey, sorry, lady. Nothing personal.
You can't beat the AK-47. Soldier's best friend.
I'm jealous already.
Hey, who are those guys?
At a guess, I'd say Mafia.
Yeah, I thought so. They want to destroy me, but they won't! I'm too clever for them! Oh, I'm Maynard. Who are you?
I'm a journalist.
Oh, yeah?
From Paris. I saw you on TV, talking about the gold. You were pretty good.
No, not good. I'm not good. I'm brilliant! Nobody else in the world has done what I've done! Not for thousands of years, anyhow. Monatomic gold. It's real. I've made it. Here.
You must be very proud.
Proud? Of course I'm proud. The pharaohs, they were the first, you know. Then Moses, he had the secret. He made the gold like me, in the desert. It's magical. Kills people, but saves them too. Stops disease, but wipes out millions. No wonder they were scared, huh? But I wasn't. I tamed it. It's beautiful, you know. Whoa, you're not here to steal it, are you?
No, I'm here to tell your story. To the world.
Follow me.
You might think this guy would be memorable, but he isn't. I always forget he's even in the game. He's shocking and overly American for the sake of being over the top and annoying. This is your Anna Maria law dump, by the way, this guy right here. She was working with him, he was selling the monatomic gold and didn't really care who was buying it because Americans don't apparently. But she took something from him, he believes she owes her something, then this entire base got blown up by people that don't like him, and he's been running around like Rambo for the longest of time eating his gold. He'll have this wonderful line and many more like it.
I mean, I love weapons. I'm brilliant at weapons. Weapons are my second favorite subject.
Next to gold, huh?
No. Next to girls. Girls. Oh man, I even like the word girls.
Yeah, a right gem of a character. Remember when we had the guys in Ireland that took no shit from George? Or the really cool lady in Spain? Lady P? The guy that smashes our pot in the second game? Andre in any game? Beatrice being super cute in the last one? Even Vernon for the small amount of time he's in the games. Remember well-crafted characters with grounded personalities and charming quirks? Broken Sword, Angel of Death don't remember them, and they don't want you to remember them either, because you have to have wacky, silly American guy here. To give the game credit though, as always, the next few puzzles are really fun. Puzzle variety and a lot of the crafting is on point, much better than Sleeping Dragon ever got with its over-the-top box-pushing mechanics. Right now, Nico needs to find a way to get the safe that can't be opened onto the conveyor belt up here so that she can put it in the centrifuge and break it open. You'll do that by using this pulley system here and bringing it up top. When you're up there, Maynard, the nerd, will come up with you, and as you can't use the conveyor belt controls, he'll come over, give it a kick, and then you can use them to do the puzzle.
There you go, good as new.
This is one of those fun conveyor belt puzzles where you move things left, right, up, down, but everything will move in whatever direction the conveyor belt will allow it to move in. So you need to trap the random boxes in random places so that you can get the safe to the very top of the conveyor belts. I love these kind of puzzles, and for a change, it is a very hands-on puzzle. It feels like a lot of these puzzles in this game just turn into easy button pressing, and whilst technically this is just button pressing in itself, I do enjoy that you have to think about it. When you are done, you get this cutscene.
It's no use. There's a safety mechanism. It's not meant to have an object that size inside.
Can't you override it?
The safety override button is inside the centrifuge.
Ah.
But hey, if you operate it out here, I can hold the button, then come out at the last minute.
Sounds dangerous to me.
Sounds fun to me, huh?
Are you sure that's safe?
Safe? Hey, what's the point of safe? All right, press the button.
Okay. Here goes.
Wait! I can't get out!
I can't stop it!
I hate to do this, guys, but let us compare this to one of the best scenes in The Sleeping Dragon. Bruno was a character that arrived in Shadow of the Templar. He never really talked that much or said anything of importance, but he was part of the Neo-Templars. When we see him in The Sleeping Dragon at first, it is more of a, oh look, that character's from the first game and he hasn't changed his clothes between games. And then suddenly you get to see more of him and start to care for him. Then, when they give you just enough to care about this character, they tear him away in a heartbreaking death scene. Now, again, look at Vernon. We have no attachment whatsoever to Vernon. He dies in the opening cutscene, but his death is so connected to Nico, she becomes the #1 suspect because the person who did kill him was dressed like her. Later on, we get the lore dump from him, but he's humanized all the time through his relationship with Beatrice. And even things like Mo. Mo dies in the first game off-screen. You just get told he's died by a random character. You can even miss that. You then get told that he's alive again in the second game. But you feel upset when you hear he's dead. And you feel happy when you hear he's alive again. Then you have Maynard. Maynard shows up, shoots a bunch of people, is wild and silly, and then dies. He also isn't doing a noble sacrifice like Bruno, he's just being a goof. He thinks he can do something that he can't do. He's gone in there to sort out the machine from the inside to get out before the machine starts working, but he can't do that and dies in a weird way. Maynard is this awkward stereotype of a bunch of weird things, mainly the geeks that have to fight back in every nerd film in the 80s, and he's just unlikable. He's forgettable, but also just unlikable. Whilst I'm not against random deaths in games, this is just underwhelming. It was meant to be dramatic, it was meant to make you feel something, it wasn't played as a joke, and it had no point to it. So the only logical thing is that it was meant to be dramatic and upsetting, but it lacked any emotional depth to it, and even Nico just walks straight into the centrifuge and loots his corpse before leaving. Phoenix was pointless. All it did was teach us about monatomic gold, which isn't important at all, or it is, but I just don't care. I still to this day have no real idea why it is important. Or I do, but they could have literally just said, we've invented pixie dust in the Vatican, and it would have made as much sense as monatomic gold did. Even just having the DVD telling us about the gold would have been enough. We didn't ever have to go to Phoenix at all to meet this guy. Nico has a few puzzles to do before she can get out, mainly sneaking past the Mafia goons, which is actually more sneaking than George ever had to do in his sneaking puzzles, and with the most underwhelming escape scene in Broken Sword history, we're all back together in Rome. The real tragedy is purely that we have to play through the Phoenix part of the game at all. Rip the time in our lives, we're not getting back for that. With all the information we have, George still won't hear a word against Anna Maria. There must be a reason why this random woman who showed up gave us a really random story about her family, just so happening to have a Templar manuscript on her, and wanting us to break into an ancient citadel just to go missing the moment she got what she wants is actually missing, and that reason can't be that she might be a bad guy. So where are we going next? That's right, we're going back to the Vatican via the Wafer Factory and leaving poor Mark behind. The Vatican is the only place we have left linking us to anything, what with us knowing that the Cardinal is working with the Mafia, so that must be where he is and where we're needed. Outside, we'll meet Archie again. Now, something really small but really grating happens here. You'll want to grab Archie's meths that he has on the floor. Meths is in the alcohol and not the highly addictive drug. He obviously won't just give it to you, and you don't have any way to distract him with Nickel this time. The guards aren't helpful, so at some point you'll end up looking in this bin to find out it has a half-empty bottle of champagne in it.
Hey, a half-full bottle of Krug champagne. Vatican. Party City.
In pretty much every other Broken Sword game, looking in a bin and finding this object would result in it being in your inventory after you've looked at it. Not in Broken Sword Angel of Death, it's not. No, in this game, you'll have to look, then get this new view of the bin from bird's eye view and pick it up. Why? I don't know. Again, it's adding extra steps to a process that really didn't need one. You just really needed to have the bottle in your inventory after George said he found it, like any other object you'd find in drawers or a bin in any of these games. Why mention it if you aren't going to pick it up? We don't need the clue so that we then pick it up, we just need it in the inventory. With the swap done with Archie, though, you set this bin on fire to get the guards' attention and then just enter the wafer factory that is apparently just kept open at all times. Sister Angelica will be in a side room making special wafers, so whilst George has a look around, Nico takes his sister outside to threaten her?
What are you talking about? This is our backup machine for special orders. Now, how did you get in here? And do I have to call the Swiss Guard before you'll leave?
I think the sister and I need to have ourselves a little chat.
What are you planning to do?
Let's just say we need to get sisterly. You check around in here. It won't take long.
Good luck. Oh, you too, sister. You're gonna need it.
I don't get it. Angelica says she'll call the guards and then just walks outside with an aggressive Nico and stops. No, call the guards! Even if you're doing something wrong in this room, you can still call the guards because Nico and George are trespassing. Why does she give in so easily? Even finding the monatomic gold in the room, we can't prove the sister is doing anything wrong. We have no clue what we're looking for doing here, so she could easily get the guards who should probably use their brains and notice that the guy stood next to a bin that suddenly was on fire and is now trespassing in the Vatican is probably the guy who also set fire to the bin. It was crazy they didn't arrest him on the spot when it went up in flames, or that it took two of them to deal with the bin fire and let him walk into the factory in the first place. But mainly, why is Nico threatening her? It's such an odd moment. After snooping around for like genuinely seconds, Angelica and Nico will return, and as if to give a divine sign, the Cardinal arrives through the wafer factory and heads to the back. Angelica doesn't stop us from following him, she also doesn't like talk to him or anything, so we go and follow him. We're back to the same sneaking puzzle as the first time, just a little bit different. This time the monks are just walking around in circles, and you have to avoid them. But there are so many problems here, and they all kind of start and end with the NPCs being blind. Again. Nico just stands here in a corner and no one sees her. We can get pretty close to these guys and they don't see us. This guy is only really walking back and forward in front of the door and never sees us. The timing could be a little tight, but it's easy enough to just run in the sneaking area to get back into the main area. It's just silly. Everything in this game is just silly, but it isn't the kind of silly that's enjoyable, just confusing and annoying. Also, Nico just teleports into the building as well. In the last game, when you had to sneak past people to get places, Nico would do that. In this game, just teleport. Everyone just teleport. Now, ready for another twist. Turns out the Cardinal was the good guy all along, because of course he was.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Cardinal, but isn't that somebody else's safe? Or do you just not give a damn any longer?
You. Haven't you done enough damage?
No, we've only just started.
And we don't have much time. Where's the weapon?
You ask me?
Oh, don't pretend you don't know.
Yes, Your Eminence, don't pretend.
Good timing, guys.
So it is true, Monsignor Derwin. You and the Americans were working together all along.
Once again, Your Eminence, you fail to understand what is happening in front of your own eyes.
We were working with Americans, but not this one. We must all be prepared to die for our faith.
May the Lord forgive me.
Janelli was weak. He refused to let us build the weapon. But the weapon is our destiny! God granted it to the Order hundreds of years ago to smite the infidel when the time was right.
And the time is right now, but Janelli wouldn't listen.
He was going to stop us. Fortunately, we found you in time.
We couldn't have done it without you, Mr. Stobart. You translated the manuscripts, found the cherub, and even stopped the Cardinal for us tonight. remarkable.
Oh, anytime. So, what happens now?
We change the course of the world.
And if we hadn't turned up when we did, he might have been able to stop us.
But why?
He betrayed the Order 2 years ago by forbidding us to use the Ark. Only Father Gregor and I have the strength to fulfill the Order's destiny, to smite the infidel and prove the righteousness of the one faith.
You mean kill everyone who hasn't taken on religion?
It is our calling.
So what happens now?
We can use her, but we don't need him.
You're right. Take her downstairs.
Well, what happens to me?
You're going to a much better place.
The actual bad guys kidnap Nico and once again knock us out, just for us to wake up with Mark standing over us like the angel he is. Mark truly is the action hero of the game, and we probably should have had him with us this entire time. That being said, the Cardinal isn't quite dead yet, so he did have some last words for us.
He's alive.
You must stop them. Nobody else here knows about this. Only you.
But what are they doing? Where are they?
They have the Ark.
The Ark?
And they have the gold to power it. I tried to stop them.
You used the Mafia?
God will forgive me. But the girl, Anna Maria, she was too clever for me.
For me too.
But Your Eminence, what will the Ark do?
The Angel of Death will rise up and destroy the unbelievers for miles around. Only those whose faith is true will be saved. Devlin believes it will show the world that there is only one true God. He wants to start a worldwide crusade.
Where is he? And where's Nico?
You must stop him. Here, take the manuscript. Find the Ark. Find the Ark. And stop him.
He's dead.
We have to find Nico. Gregor said something about downstairs.
Finally, things start to make sense. Our bad guys of the game are making something called the Ark, a weapon that would wipe out all the unbelievers. Just it will probably end the world or something because these kind of powers don't work the way people think, and the people who try to gain them aren't as good as they tell people they are. Go figure. We'll get another manuscript, and this is also the time you'll want to check the painting frame again if you haven't already taken down the clues. With all this information at hand, we're in the end game. Yes, we're nearly at the end of all this. Mark will be with us for the first part of this journey. He'll help us break open the trapdoor we saw earlier, with the help of our trusty golf club which is still with us, and this will take us down to the cellars where you'll find these giant statues. They have hourglasses on the bottom that look just like the ones on the painting's frame, so just move all 4 hourglasses to look like they did in the frame, and then push back the heads. You'll have to push the one on the left first, because the one on the right doesn't lock in place. Well, that isn't very good then, is it? It is very helpful that you have an extra pair of hands in Mark to hold the right one back as George keeps going forward and leaves Mark behind. Next up, you have a pretty simple inventory puzzle. If you mess with the fuses on the corner of the room, you'll see the light by the locked door blow up. George has C4 on him. I don't remember where we even picked that up from. I'm guessing he got it from the bomb, to be fair. That would probably be where he got it. So you just need to take the bulb out using the fire blanket we still have on us and replace it with the C4 before toggling the fuse box again and blowing up the entire thing. This puts us into another dramatic cutscene.
Wow. Medieval Latin. It's about the founding of the Order. 1. An account of the most noble order of St. Michael.
Spread out. The explosion came from here.
Someone's coming.
What have we here?
In here, fellas.
Well, well, well. Small world, Anna Maria. Or maybe that's not even your real name.
It's real.
Is it?
Why did you come after me, George?
You were working for Gregor all along, weren't you?
I believed what we were doing was right.
Including murder?
I thought we were going to bring millions to the faith peacefully.
You lied to me.
Not everything was a lie.
Istanbul?
That wasn't a lie.
I thought you'd been kidnapped.
I suppose I had been. All along.
What about this whole nun thing?
What?
You know what I mean. You really a nun?
I never took my vows, so no.
Well, that's something, I suppose.
Trust me, George. Believe in me, please.
Yeah? We better stop the bad guys first, and I've got to find Nico.
Nico, the old friend?
Yes, Gregor took her. She's down here somewhere.
Oh my God, they're going to use her. We don't have much time.
Use her?
The Ark. It needs a human interface to work. Yes, it's somewhere down here, underneath St. Peter's. We have to find it before the ceremony.
The ceremony?
The service for world religious leaders. Up there. It's due to start any minute. Come on, George. The Ark. It's through that passage.
What's beyond the other entrance?
I don't know. Since they brought me here, I've been kept a virtual prisoner.
Why?
After Istanbul, they didn't trust me anymore.
I don't understand.
They saw me and you. Together.
Ah.
Yes, Mark is back, and he somehow, in the small amount of time it took us to blow this door up, befriended the Mafia. The Mafia aren't really the bad guys here, and there is a shootout, and of course Anna Maria is here also. Why we picked this moment to have a heart-to-heart with Anna Maria, I do not understand, but that is what we end up doing. Whilst everyone else is having a gunfight, she tells us that she really was the bad guy, but also isn't a bad guy, and that she really meant to sleep with George, and that she also was never really a nun because she never took her vows. George is relieved. She'll also tell us this.
Yeah? We better stop the bad guys first, and I've got to find Nico.
Nico, the old friend?
Yes, Gregor took her. She's down here somewhere.
Oh my God, they're going to use her. We don't have much time.
Use her?
The Ark. It needs a human interface to work. Yes, it's somewhere down here, underneath St. Peter's. We have to find it before the ceremony.
Time to leave. Time to leave. Well, this is actually from a different playthrough, because a very common bug right here is that George will get stuck between Anna Maria and the scenery, and you have to kind of just run yourself out of it. It'll take a while, but you can do it. If you do get locked in here, then you won't be able to just reload and come back, as it will always have you stuck there. This playthrough, I actually didn't get this problem at all. I exchanged this for the broken cutscenes this time out, I guess. Talking to Marco Spalacci will get you nowhere other than to find out that they're going to go into business with each other over their joint love of Lucy Chu. You can also look at these signs that will kind of tie the mystical side of the story together, but at this point, who cares about that? I don't care. I'm not sitting here listening to George read stuff. There are also no dead bodies lying around, so this was the least violent gunfight in history. After walking to the next room, you'll be cornered, but Archie will show up in the secret catacomb area that we had to solve a puzzle to get into, and smack him over the head before walking off to find more alcohol. What a Chad.
Nice bumping into you, Gary, me old boy. Time I was off too. Gotta start a new chapter in the old book.
Come on, Anna Maria. Let's find Nico.
Now going forward, absolutely everything is going to be basically follow what the manuscript tells you, much like the last gauntlet of puzzles. You start with moving these crosses round till they point in the right direction, as depicted on the manuscript. This sends you into a new room. You then get a floor puzzle much like the one we had in 3, but a little less fun, because again you have to decipher how to do it through the manuscript instead of having some fun mechanic to figure it out. Anna Maria then brags she can do very dangerous things faster than us after watching us do the very dangerous thing, because the vast void of personality that is Anna Maria needs to be even more unlikable right at the end of the game. George will then fall through the floor, and you have to tell Anna Maria which levers to pull, again from deciphering the manuscript and the riddles in it. Be careful, because the hitboxes on the symbols do kind of restart, so if you're just clicking randomly and not checking, you could be clicking on the wrong thing by accident, even though you're hovering over the right thing. So just be careful. Next up is this statue. Just stick a map in its arm and then set it on fire, and another door will open, and we'll be in this room with this random altar. This was the room that they were keeping the statues in. After Anna Maria, for whatever reason, decides to kick the altar, the room locks up and starts to fill with gas. With the rosary you grabbed in the hotel room in Istanbul, you can start in the front of the altar and turn off the gas, opening the room. With that all done, you have the final cutscene. Just keep an eye out because it does stop twice for you to get the handy golf club out and smack the statues.
Listen, George, the mass has started.
Nico!
Everybody freeze!
Please help me, George.
Hold it right there.
Ma'am, Turkish security.
Ex-Turkish security. Now just a free spirit, making a living. George, my friend, I would be grateful if you desisted from damaging the Ark any further. My clients have requested their new weapon be fully serviceable on receipt. Step away, please.
So you can sell the thing to the highest bidder? I don't think so.
George, there isn't much time.
I will shoot her, George.
Just keep going, George.
You give me no choice.
No! The Ark!
Nico, you okay?
Oh, I'll be all right. Nothing a good drink won't cure.
George.
What's the matter? No. Oh no, Anna!
I'm sorry, George.
This wasn't supposed to happen.
George, I'm so sorry.
She stepped in the way. She did it for me.
There's nothing you can do.
She was on my side all along. I never told her.
Come on, George. We better go.
This ending is for sure an ending of all time, that's for sure. These guys in the back just sit and let George hit the statues. They don't move because nothing moves in the game unless you're interacting with them. At the end, one guy decides to just jump on the energy because why not? Then of course Anna Maria gets shot, just there is no blood or bullet holes. She's shot by the guy, the police officer from Istanbul. He's there because you need to have a Russell character, I guess, but he had no personality anyway, so he didn't fill that role. Anna Maria then dies in George's arm before the game just ends and we get this.
Can you feel me on your shoulder? Let me lift you to your feet. These hollow bells a lonely sound, your heart has missed a beat.
Congrats, you've just completed Broken Sword 4, The Angel of Death. Unless you have to play it a second time, you are now free from the game for good. Seriously though, the game isn't that bad. It isn't good, but it isn't bad either. It is by far personally the worst game of the series for me, but the series had such a high standard of puzzle crafting, storytelling, and character development that a weak version of the series is just a little on the boring side. I guess being boring isn't a good thing either, which is basically the problem with Angel of Death. At least through all the clunkiness of the Sleeping Dragon, it was fun and entertaining. It had great moments, but just got bogged down in the box pushing. Angel of Death just feels like a waste of time to have to sit through. Its plot goes nowhere, the characters are all zombies, and the ending isn't even worth it. Anna Maria was a terrible addition to the main cast of characters. She was devoid of all personality and redeemable features. She was just kind of thrown at us at the beginning and never really explained. We're just meant to believe that she had feelings for George because she said so, even though she herself has done not a single trustworthy thing in the entire game. Then we as the audience are meant to care about her death, when in reality, I was cheering it on. George and Anna Maria's relationship was rushed all the way through just to give George some steamy, interesting love story instead of anything actually worth watching on screen. What this game needed was just time to develop even one strand of the story for us to care about. Monatomic Gold was just kind of there, the arc was only really explained at the end of the game, and never really felt like a threat because we didn't know anything about it. The involvement of the church felt like just the easy answer when they put the game in Rome. The Mafia were the bad guys till they weren't, and once the mix-up was understandable, there was no moment to have Spalacci do anything to prove he was any more trustworthy than who the bad guys actually were. Things just happened, and they happened in a really rough and sloppy way. You can't say that it wasn't action-packed, it just wasn't thought out at all. I keep saying that it felt like playing a game, and of course it would. Thing is, especially for story-heavy mystery games, you need to get immersed in them. You need to feel like this is a mystery worth solving, when in actual fact, it felt more like a dot-to-dot, where you were just being mechanically moved from dot 1 to dot 2 and so on. And what's the picture at the end of Broken Sword 1 to 3's dot-to-dot was a beautiful laid-out mystery with great characters and fun gameplay moments. The Angel of Death just ends up being a straight line from George meets random woman to random woman is now dead. Nothing is natural in it. Everyone stands like zombies staring into the abyss. All the small and wonderful details that made the other games feel so alive and wonderful to play are missing, and whilst the puzzles are still crafted well enough, and the variety is hundreds times more than it is in the previous game, it's just soulless and leaves you empty after playing it. It really feels like you're engaging with a decently put together game mechanically, but with no actual reason to engage with the story, mainly because the story was so poorly given to you. Not only that, but the puzzles being well crafted didn't stop them from feeling cheaper than puzzles in earlier games. I've mentioned the manuscripts, so let's use them as an example. Shadow of the Templars had one manuscript. It was hard to get in the first place, having to steal it from Khan, and when you do get it, George and Nick will take a decent amount of time to decipher it, even having to go to an expert like Andre to help us figure things out. The manuscript hinted at where to go and what we might need to do, but the actual puzzles weren't spelled out on the page. In Angel of Death, the manuscripts act as a guide. They tell you everything you need to know without any real subtle ways of making it hard. Even a child could figure it out. When you get to the puzzles, you don't even really need to interact with them. You just have to press buttons, and while sure it isn't really changing anything, it shows the lack of wanting to immerse people in the world. Instead of having George turn a dial, you just press a button and it happens. Because it's a game, it's not something they want you to care about, it's just a game. Play your game. You get two manuscripts, and at both times the puzzle is read the manuscript for the answer. Again, just look at the floor puzzles. As I said, in the Sleeping Dragon, you have to stand on various tiles using Nickel to help light up the path for George. It's a great way to use two characters in a wonderfully imaginative puzzle. In this, you just read the manuscript and follow the path. I do give them credit for upping the variety of puzzles and even making the box pushing that they did have, which wasn't much to be honest, much more interesting. They did utilize the 3D space better, much better than the previous game. I do appreciate what they tried to do with the hacking and just overall with the game, but it just didn't work for me at all. When it comes to art, it does look nice. That being said, I will fight anyone who tells me that Broken Sword 4 has better models and just looks better than 3. Whilst George does look a tad more realistic in this game, the game just looks bad at times. Areas are uninspiring, the models break, Archie looks like a slightly better version of PS1 Harry Potter's Hagrid. There is something charming about 3, whereas this game screamed mediocre all the way through. It didn't help that a lot of the beginning of the game was just in worn down, terrible looking areas, and whilst the long passages of 3 are gone, and the wide open areas are nicely done in this one, it also loses that feeling of being alive. You are never sent out to a street where you can see people or hear them. You can use the intercoms on the doors and get some funny dialogue, but that's about it. It was just a bit sloppy, and for me, it was the weakest of the games. It isn't a game I would want to play again. I didn't like playing it the second time, and I knew what I was doing, and didn't have to second guess what I was doing. Whilst I would always say someone who truly wanted to see the entirety of the series should never skip any game, I would personally say this game just doesn't add anything, and it won't make you happy. And if you do like it, you can leave a comment down below telling me why I'm wrong, because I know people like doing that on the internet. That is all I have time for today. If you want to help support me, then links to all my socials, Twitch and Patreon are down below. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.